our dear guests, Senior Counsel Lydia Obo, Counsel Obed Nasser, Counsel Musisi George, good morning to you all. I'm Christina Worry, the CEO of Uganda Law Society, and I'm here to welcome you to our 20th series of the Radical New Bar Live. In today's edition, we are going to discuss 3 pertinent issues in the history of the Radical New Bar. Issue 1, advocates are a target of tyranny, resisting enforced disappearance, torture, and assault on the rule of law in the present-day Uganda. This will be discussed by Dr. Fred Sekindi, Advocate Abed Nasser, and Advocate George Musisi. They will be followed by the Radical New Bar President's speech. Issue 2, members' welfare, the ULS healthcare, and the benevolent fund, where we are going to be given an overview or awareness, because I believe not so many lawyers are familiar with this, and we keep enrolling new lawyers who will need to be updated about this fund. This will be discussed by Senior Advocate Lydia Obo. Issue number 3, groundbreaking Radical New Bar Council announcement, Executive Orders number 4 and number 5 of 2025. This will be discussed by the Vice President, Mr. Asimwe Anthony. Once again, I value your time, and I'm here to say also thank you very much for always joining the Radical New Bar Live, physically and online. So you are welcome. Without delay, I now welcome the head of Rule of Law to come and take up the podium and also speak to us before she invites the speaker. Thank you.
I stand on the protocol that has already been observed. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Apio Afra. I'm the head Rule of Law, Uganda Law Society. As mentioned by the CEO, our first speaker this morning will be Mrs. Lydia Ocheng Obo. She's a senior advocate, and she's also the chairperson of the Uganda Law Society Healthcare and Benevolent Fund. Mrs. Obo, you're welcome.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name, as you have heard, Lydia Proscovia Ochengobo From Frederick Francis and Associates Advocates. I am the chairperson of the board of directors of the fund. The fund was established as a company limited by guarantee, and among its members are Uganda Law Society and all other members of the Uganda Law Society who are paid up. That's what comprises the fund. The discussion about the fund did not start with the previous council. It had been an ongoing discussion, and a couple of previous councils put their footmark or footprint on the establishment of the fund. I hope you can hear me. So we did go to Kenya to study. We did some desk research first. How did we start? The previous council formed a steering committee comprising of 3 members chosen from the different stratas of the society. I being the senior member, there's a middle person, Mr. Philip Munabi, and then a younger lawyer, Barbara Kitui, to form the steering committee, working with the welfare and benevolent cluster at that time. So that's how we started. We did the desk research. We studied what Kenya was doing, Tanzania, Rwanda, and Burundi to an extent. And we found that Kenya had the most developed example of a fund like ours, which is the association, the Advocates Benevolent Association of Kenya, which is attached to the Law Society of Kenya. And we mirrored this fund on that model. That's why we have a separate institution where the Uganda Law Society is a member and the rest of you are members. So that's the background. Because I don't have a lot, they've given me 20 minutes, so I must fit in everything in those 20 minutes. So we did prepare a study report, which will be available for you, those of you who want to read up how we started. And then finally, at the ULS Extraordinary General Meeting, which was held on the 18th of August 2023, the members unanimously agreed that our research and our finding, which had been reduced into a concept note, be actualized so that the fund can be formed. And they designated the council of that time to appoint the board. And they did appoint the board. So the fund was launched on the 11th of July, where the board was sworn in and by the Chief Registrar of the High Court. And then the fund was finally registered on the 26th of July, 2024. So that's a little bit of background on the fund. Who are members of the board? Maybe let me start there. We had the members of the Regional Steering Committee, Mr. Philip Munabi, Dr. Barbara Kitui, and myself. And then we co-opted other members who are not lawyers for reasons which I'll explain, to bring some technical support to the board. And how did we go about that? We asked council to help us look around for people that will be willing to serve. And they got us a doctor, Dr. Elizabeth Ekochu, who is a public health doctor. We got Mr. Alan Retabe, who is a financial and investment analyst. And then we got Mary Namale. Mary Namale, by the way, joined us when we went to Nairobi. We didn't go alone. We went with Mary Namale to help us understand the insurance part of the fund. And you will understand it when I go into that a little bit later. And we were also accompanied by the Vice President, Mr. Martin Badiaruha, at that time. So what have we done so far? Because everybody's asking, what's the fund doing? We have not been sitting. We've been trying to work on the institutional development of the fund. Our effort has been focused on making sure that the fund stands on a firm institutional and organizational foundation with very upright fundamentals of accountability, steeped in corporate governance imperatives. So that's why we have been slow but very sure. We work through the board. All our decisions are taken through the board. The board sits in 2 capacities. One side sits to run the fund, then the other side sits to determine the payments we make out to the members, because that's a full board. We sit and we determine what payments we make out to the members, and we shall talk about that a little bit later. So we are trying to have a lean secretariat. We are trying to manage our resources so that the overheads for managing the fund don't outrun the purpose for which it was set up. What are we doing so far? What did we inherit? We inherited what the Uganda Society was doing in respect to benevolence, i.e. when a member dies, we give the member 3 million shillings, because that's what the Law Society was doing at that time. We just inherited it and said, let's just continue that as is. Now, the critical part, which we have not quite gone through, is the health one. The health one is quite challenging, because we've got now almost 8 members who have got, 4 of whom have got some debilitating illnesses, okay? 2 cancer patients. We have got 1 person with a heart problem. We have 2 people, one was attacked, 2 were attacked actually, and they have got severe injuries which required them to have surgery. And then there was 1 who is sick, who just fell sick. One of them fell from trying to put up a photograph and he hurt his head, he had to have surgery. So that is the side where we are dealing with. But most of you, as you know, and I think the CEO will tell you, that in this country, medical insurance, the uptake of insurance generally is 1%. Our uptake of insurance is not good. Now, of that, 0.8% is medical. So when you take the entire population of Uganda, and only 1% people are insured, whether general, motor, name it. And most of the people that have got medical insurance are those people who have got medical insurance by virtue of their employers. How many law firms have got medical insurance for their employees, even the lawyers themselves? I would like to find out that information. I think we shall do a survey on that and find out where we stand on that one. So these are the challenges that we are having. Medical is a big challenge. Even when you talk to the insurers themselves who are handling it, it is a big challenge, simply because of the uptake of insurance in this country and the way the whole medical situation has been structured. Recently, we lost a colleague, Senior Counsel John Kakoza, Baptist Kakoza. I don't want to go into the story, but I think you know the story behind it, what happened in Mulago, what happens actually in Mulago. We still have another person who's having a challenge in Mulago, simply because of the general situation regarding our medical space in this country. So we need to work a little bit more, we need to work a little bit harder to see how best we can make sure that we cover our members. So how are we funded? As of now, most of you know that from your 500,000 subscription that you give every year, the Law Society gives us 25,000, which is matched by your 75,000 that you top up, giving us 100,000 per member. Okay? So the first batch of money was given to us in October last year. Okay? We got a first batch of money was transferred to our account in October last year. And then we got, that was 832 million shillings. And then we got another transfer of 50,995,900 on the 4th of October. That is 2024. Recently, in March 2024, we got another batch, which I think you learned about because it was shared by the treasurer. It was 162,518,000 to our account. We set up a separate account in DFCU, but we have been working towards setting up a robust and oversighted system that will protect your money. Okay? So that's why we have been slow but sure. So most of last year, after we had received that money, we spent it learning. We had to go through a school to learn how to invest this money, to learn about treasury bills, to learn about bonds, unit trusts, etc., and other means of investment, real estate, land, etc., etc. Now, real estate and land, as you know, are high risk. Treasury bills, bonds, and unit trusts are less risky. So we had to learn how to manage your fund. After that, what did we do? We started now looking for people that will help us to manage the funds, who are professionals in managing the funds. They call them fund managers. And we went through a process of picking amongst the various fund managers who are regulated by the Capital Markets Authority, who shall be the fund manager. Enter the fund managers, what next? You have to have what they call a custodian bank. You don't commingle funds which you are investing with your other account, the operational account, which you have already opened with DFCU. Now this was a learning. We went through the baptism of what? Of fire. We thought it was going to be very easy. We get the money, we put on a unit trust. We thought that was what would happen. And our colleague, Mr. Alan Retabe, said, no, wait a minute. How do you choose the fund manager? How do you choose the custodian bank? So we called them and they pitched. We had to go to the nitty-gritty. How much are they going to charge us for this and that and the other? Because ultimately, it goes into our bottom line. Yeah? If you have got a bank which charges you a lot of money, it goes to the bottom line. Recently, we discovered that one of the banks we had chosen to be the custodian bank was going to charge us 6 million Uganda shillings a year. And we're like, wait a minute, 6 million? That's high. What does it mean to us? 6 million means that if, God forbid, one of us died, if I died, that will be 3 million you give to my family. Another 3 million will help another family. So we said, no, wait a minute. We need to go and look for somebody who will give us a better price. So far, we have got an agreement with Bitam Insurance to be our fund manager after having chosen 2 and then having to drop 1 because of cost issues. So we are very, very, very emphatic about making sure that we spend the least amount of money and we spend it wisely. Yeah. So as of now, your board, ever since you were inaugurated last year, we have not taken any allowance for our sittings, and we have got many sittings. Yeah. We shall at some point, yes, give an allowance to people, but we say let us first make that money to spend on our work. I'm lucky, and we are lucky, that so far the people that you chose to sit on the board or the council put on the board, none of them have pressurized us for a sitting allowance. And you know that usually when you sit on the board, you have to be, given some allowance, at least some transport allowance. So we have not paid anything of that nature. What else have we done? We had started some health talks, and we did a talk on cancer, we did a talk on mental health, and another one on dental health. That was last year. However, we got feedback from you that the time we had chosen was not very commensurate, because we used to do it in the evening from 7 o'clock. And then you said, no, that's not a very good time. So we stopped that, not because we're not aware of the need to do this and continue with it, but because we felt that we need to go back, restructure and say what else can we do and how better can we serve you to make sure that when we put up those talks, you listen in. Why are the talks important? Apart from the fact that falling sick is as natural as day and night, we think that lifestyle diseases can be reduced if we live our lives better as lawyers. We work in a very stressful environment. We are busy most of the time, running from place to place, running from court to court. And those who are not going to court, the in-house lawyers have a very, very heavy duty. And some people have to drive up country. So many times I've ever driven up country only to find that the judge has come to Kampala. This is part of our lives, isn't it? So because of that, we need to take care of our health. Health first. So we need to live differently. So we are looking at what programs can we introduce for the members as part of the HBF, so that we can first take care of our health, reduce the instances of having to go to hospital, reduce the instances of getting cancer, because cancer is partly a lifestyle disease, and others, diabetes, all of those. We've got doctors who are going to come and talk to us as we go along. We've got somebody who come and talk to us about how we can invest our money. How can we invest our money to make sure that we prepare for that time, like me, Lydia, who is 67, when the time will come when I can no longer practice, whether I like it or not. You get what I'm saying? So how do we prepare for that time? Okay, these are part of the things that we plan to do for you. So what we request of you is to support us. The second thing we request of you is to be patient, because Rome was not built in one day. Ultimately, you'll be coming and asking us, why didn't you do this like this? Why didn't you do this? Why did you allow this? Because if we don't put systems in place from the very beginning, it is going to be very difficult to put them after the fact. And for me, I've got a banking experience, and I can use the example of a loan. When a person is going to give out a loan, if they don't take care about that loan before they give it out, once the loan gets out of that door, if it is bad, it is bad. It will just contribute to the non-performing assets of that bank and probably will not be recoverable. So we want to put in place systems. We want to put in place an organization that you shall live to be proud of. The Kenyan one, Association, Advocate Benevolent Association of Kenya, has been in place since 1947. Since 1947. They are 78 plus years old. Even then, as we went to Kenya, what did they tell us? Because Kenya has got a very good insurance uptake in terms of general insurance, but also medical insurance, they are lucky because their lawyers have got insurance from other insurance providers, Old Mutual, Jubilee, and the rest. But even them, they have given them a package for medical cover, which is equivalent to about 3.5 million Uganda shillings. But the majority of the lawyers don't come to take it up. Why? Because lawyers, everybody wants to keep their medical matters private. Even as we speak now, I've got a lawyer who went and I talked to him. He has not come to me or to us because I think he wants to keep his what? His medical records private. So I cannot mention the names of the lawyers who have helped because of that. So what are we going to do about that? We are going to register with the Data Protection Authority to ensure that when you give us your data, we are being supervised by somebody else regarding your data. I'm not at liberty to disclose the medical conditions of the people that are sick. I've talked in general terms, but I cannot tell you that Lydia Obo has got this problem or so and so has got that problem because it will be, not relieving to the purpose for which we are intended, and it will discourage people from coming to share their illnesses. So as I conclude, because I have to be very fast, I know I've got a very short time. So this is one of the series of presentations, and thank you very much for organizing it and letting us. We have been wanting to come all along, but sometimes the timing just did not fit. We still need to finalize our formation documents. We have got a draft strategic plan, which we shall share. We're going to have a retreat soon so that we can go through it, complete it. We have got to do our operational manuals. Fortunately, the members of the board have lent their expertise. Some of them have been working with projects and so on and so forth. So they're going to help us with those documents. We've got some fund distribution guidelines. When you want to approach the fund for medical support, what do you need to do? We shall be issuing those sooner or later. We've got some other guidelines regarding the benevolent side, which we shall also share with you. We will lean and stand on the protocol that was established by the Uganda Society regarding the benevolent fund. And there the head members affairs, the CEO, and the head finance are working with us to make sure that we have got a system, that talks to the Law Society, and it will not take us a lot of time, and we're trying to cut as many costs as possible. We would like to thank the council. They've offered us space on the floor, just across here, just next to the Members Affairs officer. You will see our lady. I can introduce her, Sandra Ariamanya. You can stand up. She's our fund liaison assistant. So she will be here. So if you have a problem, you can call her. She's helped us a lot in the setup because otherwise we were running almost headless chicken, trying to do everything, myself, my colleagues, until we said, no, guys, it's not going to work. So we got Sandra, and she's been very helpful. As of yesterday, we are now registered with the NSSF. So sooner or later, we shall be registered with the Deposit Protection Authority and others where we need to be registered. But we shall be regulated from afar by UMBRA, the Uganda Retirement Benefits Scheme. From afar, we are not supposed to be regulated by them, but we've put ourselves under that regulatory rigor to make sure that we conform to what exactly needs to be done. And then we've, of course, Bank of Uganda will come in through regulating the custodian bank who will be helping us. We shall have separate fund accounts where the investments go, and another account where we put the money which we are going to be disbursing, so that there is no convolution of funds. That is a deliberate effort. So we are in the process now of developing looking at how can we have a comprehensive medical cover, either through the insurance providers or something else. We don't know what that's going to be. So anybody who has any ideas on that score, please lend us your brains. We welcome ideas. You can call us, call any one of us to share ideas. You can tell Sandra. You can even come and have a one-on-one meetings with us if If you have time, you can say, Lydia, I want to come and speak to you. Or Dawa, where are you? I can meet you even in your office. Give me your ideas, give us your ideas so that we can build this together. And for that, I think we shall be able to do that. We are planning also to establish linkages with upcountry members. We have got two upcountry members, but one of them we are in touch with through his wife. The other one we haven't yet got in touch with. I hope we shall get there. If you're from Mbale, I need you to get for me somebody. So please reach out to me so that we can find that person. And we are going to prepare our annual general meeting sooner than later, because as you heard, we were registered in July last year, and the law requires us to have an annual general meeting in the first year of existence. I think let me stop there. I don't want to hog the space. I just thank you very much for this opportunity to speak to you. If there's anything that I have left out, we'll probably have another conversation outside this. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Advocate Lydia. We appreciate your effort for that summary of the ULS Benevolent Fund. We are so excited about it. It's been on our minds for some time, and for you to say you've been wanting to come but also to prepare the documentation is a very important gesture unto us. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I salute you and I recognize you in all your different capacities. I'm by the name Robert Jirua, a member of the Rule of Law Department, Uganda Law Society. We salute you all for your presence. Those physically present, the Secretariat staff, we really appreciate your time. Those online, we are so grateful for your time as well, as it has always been. We welcome you once again to the Rnblive Press and Public Engagement, which is in line with our objective as the Uganda Law Society under Section 3 to engage with both the public and as well assist the members. And today, just like a month ago, we were here sharing about the ULS cooperative with in which we explained a few things that are happening to those especially who are saving, who are serving with the ULS cooperative. We brought one advocate, Javira Morgan, who espoused what it's about, and it's our mandate to come and help you also manage your finances. It's not very easy to manage lawyers and lawyers' money, but the ULS has a task and we are ready for it, and we want to thank the Benevolent Fund and the management for this opportunity. It's been a welcome opportunity. We thank you for the programs. We ask that God bless you in whatever you're doing. It's not an easy task amidst your schedules. We appreciate being that it's voluntary, and we bless you. We thank you for the programs that you've just spoken about, and especially the ones that tackle us individually in regard to demise. In that regard, we would like to just request that we bow down for a minute or less for those fallen advocates who have not been able to make it today, but have always been our comrades in the struggle to deliver justice to the population of Uganda. Thank you. We thank you. A hand clap for them. May their souls rest in eternal peace. Back to business. We thank you once again for this time. Very fast from here, after the Benevolent Fund discussion, we are also welcoming questions because we know it's a nail-biting idea, and we know that there's always questions that come from the members. Members, this is your money per se, and we're only trying to manage it and also be in support of your other lives apart from practice. We welcome questions. The table is available. We have very able leaders, courtesy of Advocate Lydia, who is here to help us answer those questions. Kindly feel free to drop your question online, and those that are physically present, we're here to serve you. We thank you so much. But in the meantime, as we proceed, we are going to go to the next agenda item. And we have a topic that reads advocates as targets of tyranny. Advocates as targets of tyranny, resisting enforced disappearances, torture, and assault on the rule of law in present-day Uganda. There is a lot that has been happening towards our advocates, our colleagues, and it is our role as well to bring it to the fore, to see how to help each other, because it is a struggle and we're all embedded under Uganda Law Society. So today with us, we have able speakers who are going to help facilitate this topic. But before that, we're going to welcome the head of the department, Advocate Afra Apio Audrey, who is going to present to us a preamble to that topic so as for us to get a little more knowledge of what we're talking about in order to prepare your minds as you pay attention. We thank you so much. Please be blessed.
Thank you, Robert. On 16th May 2025, our member advocate Abed Nasa Mujobole was abducted by heavily armed drone operating security operatives at around 5 p.m. from Gold Rock Hotel in Chaliwajala, where he had gone to meet a client. The Uganda Law Society issued a press statement on 17th May 2025 reporting the abduction and strongly condemning the alarming trend of enforced disappearances in Uganda. On 20th May 2025, ULS, together with his wife, who is also our member, Advocate Bana Mutamba, filed a habeas corpus application before the High Court Civil Division. The following day, 21st May 2025, Advocate Mudiopole was finally produced before before the Iganga Chief Magistrates Court, having been held incommunicado at the Chieftaincy of Military Intelligence and the Special Investigations Unit in Chireka since his abduction. He was represented by our Vice President, Advocate Anthony Asimwe, alongside a team of other lawyers. He was charged with unlawful drilling under Section 45 of the Penal Code Act. Pending his bail hearing, he was remanded to Iganga Government Prison. He has since secured bail and has been released. Advocate Mujopole is an aspiring member of Parliament for Iganga Municipality under the National Unity of Platform. His abduction is widely believed to be politically motivated due to his affiliation with the opposition. This incident shows a growing climate of fear and intimidation, particularly targeting lawyers associated in politics. The ULS strongly condemns such unlawful actions. Increasingly, political activists, human rights defenders, and lawyers are being targeted, many of whom are subjected to torture, prolonged incommunicado detention, or worse. We reiterate that the right to freedom of association is a fundamental human right enshrined under Article 29E of the 1995 Constitution of Uganda. It guarantees every person the freedom to associate, including the right to form and join political and civic organizations. The Uganda Law Society stands firm in its commitment to uphold the rule of law, protect its members, and defend constitutionalism. We have a statement by the President of the Uganda Law Society, Isaac Semakadem. It will be read by our member, Advocate Ambrose Enen, who practices in Adjumani with Ojok, Magara, and associate advocates. Kaso Enen, I welcome you to the podium.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Rnblive. I greet you all, and I'm deeply humbled to be given this opportunity to deliver the speech of the President of the Uganda Law Society, which is titled Statement of the Radical New Bar President of Uganda Law Society at the 20th Rnblive series on the topic Advocates as Targets of Tyranny, Resisting Enforced Disappearance, Torture, and Assault on the Rule of Law in Present-day Uganda. It is dated at Kampala, Uganda, 29th May 2025. Colleagues, in every nation's journey, a critical moment arises when pro-democracy lawyers become targets of the regime. When power holders abandon democratic principles for dictatorship and despotism, lawyers are often targeted. Attacking advocates not only silences them, but also deprives people of their rights defenders, making it the epitome of repression. Unfortunately, this insidious tactic has been witnessed all too often in our country. In his highly acclaimed memoir, The Betrayal, Honorable Samuel Kalega Njuba, Senior Counsel, recounts how, under Idi Amin's brutal regime, advocates became marked targets. The courts and the law society were seen not as partners in justice, but as enemies of the state. The regime feared the law, and rightly so, because even in darkness, the law offered light. Even at the barrel of the gun, some lawyers dared to speak the truth. Advocate Henry Kayondo represented his client before a court-martial at Machinde. And what was his reward? Arrest and detention at Naguru. It goes on. Advocate Protasio Sebutozi Aijuigu was defending a one Lieutenant Colonel Eli in the court-martial. He was arrested and brutally tortured. He was forced to walk barefoot and creep on his stomach on sharp objects. He was whipped and never given medication. During this time, several prisoners were being clobbered, shot, or stabbed to death. Their bodies dumped at Namampe Forest, in the lakes, or along the roadside. Yet these were not isolated incidents. Mawaji, another lawyer cited in Honorable Njuba's memoir, was murdered for his pursuit of justice. A British lawyer, Beckford Smith, was detained and deported for merely representing a client who had criticized the regime. Joseph Lukeira, also an advocate of the High Court, had been arrested and tortured. He spent nearly 2 months in illegal detention with no specific charges preferred against him. And on 5th March 1975, Samuel Njuba, Senior Counsel himself, the author of this powerful memoir, was arrested at Buganda Road Chief Magistrate's Court, where he had gone to apply for a client's bail. Army men surrounded the courtroom. He was handcuffed, dragged, and detained at Naguru. He was whipped until he became unconscious, left covered in blood, and warned never to speak of it again. The message from the regime was clear. Lawyers who defend the Constitution, who advocate for justice, who dare to question power, are enemies to be silenced by a despotic regime. Today, we see troubling echoes of that dark past. Lawyers are still harassed. Permit me to repeat that. Lawyers are still harassed, threatened, abducted, tortured, and forcibly disappeared because of their political views or association. There's a lot of emphasis there. When the state does this to lawyers, it violates not only national law, but also international law. Paragraph 23 of the UN Basic Principles on the Role of Lawyers provides that, quote unquote, lawyers, like other citizens, are entitled to freedom of expression, belief, association, and assembly. In particular, they shall have the right to, among others, join or form local, national, or international organizations and attend their meetings without suffering professional restrictions by reason of their lawful action or their membership in a lawful organization. This is reiterated in paragraph 14 of the International Bar Association, Standards for the Independence of the Legal Profession, which provides that lawyers shall not, by reason of exercising their profession, be denied freedom of belief, expression, association, and assembly. And in particular, they shall have the right to, paragraph A, take part in public discussion of public matters concerning the law and the administration of justice. B, join or form freely local, national, and international organizations. Propose and recommend well-considered law reforms in the public interest and inform the public about such matters. There is further elaboration to this. Paragraph 16 of the UN Basic Principles on the Role of Lawyers places an obligation on governments to ensure that lawyers are able to perform all of their professional functions without intimidation, hindrance, harassment, or improper interference. But we must always remind ourselves that the law is not merely written in statutes. Maybe I should say that again. But we must always remind ourselves that the law is not merely written in statutes. It lives in the courage of those who defend it. Today, I call on every member of the Uganda Law Society to remember the courage of our predecessors in this legal profession and to actively resist the injustices of the present. To the advocates of today, us, your silence is complicity. Your inaction is an enabler of oppression. You have been trained not only to interpret the law, but to defend justice. Use your legal training, use your skills, use your voice for the advancement of democracy and against the temptations of despotism. Actively resist the abuse of rule of law before the law of rule catches you. Resist torture before you find yourself in someone's basement. Resist injustice before it is meted out to you or your loved ones. Resist boldly before you are cited for breach of decorum. And let this be a solemn warning. As long as those in power abandon democracy and edge precariously towards dictatorship, lawyers will remain targets. Even the closest darlings of the regime, those defending its excesses fervently today, will eventually become its enemies. Tyranny has no loyalty. It does not honor service previously rendered. It does not remember past favors. Once it has finished with its critics, it turns inward and purges its supporters. To lawyers who have chosen to align with repression, know this. When tyranny falls, and it always falls, you will be judged. You will be remembered for your silence or sophistry that enabled the abuse of the rule of law. For shielding injustice and for betraying the law you swore to uphold. You may escape the wrath of the tyrant temporarily, but you will not escape the verdict of history or the judgment of a free people. Let us not be the generation that watch justice die in silence. Let us be the advocates who showed up and made a stand. Advocates like those honored by Honorable Sam Njuba, Senior Counsel, who resisted and defended the law, even when it cost them everything. On behalf of the Radical New Bar Governing Council, I am deeply honored to present Honorable Senior Counsel Sam Njuba's memoir to Advocate Abed Nassar Mudiobole. As a testament to the Uganda Law Society's profound appreciation for his unwavering courage and stalwart defense of democracy during these challenging times. Comrade Nassar, we stand with you always, as Section 3 of the Uganda Law Society Act proclaims. Signed, Isaac K. Semakade, President, Uganda Law Society. Thank you so much. Thank you. At this moment, I invite the person in charge of the ceremony to take over the microphone and invite the next speaker. Must be you. Yes.
Wow. Thank you so much, Advocate Ambrose, for the job well executed. We appreciate the task that you've taken. It's not an easy one to stand in the shoes of the mighty president of the National Bar. We appreciate. Thank you for taking on the delegation. We thank you for the words that have been shared, the wisdom, the history, the constitutional history of the country, which is also a message that leaves an indelible mark in the lives of advocates who are intentional on making their names, like we are, children of God or Allah, who are here to make the world a better place. And as advocates, our role has been said over and again to help those that are in need. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, the individual who has been recognized with that awesome present, chronicling the constitutional history of the country and the status of advocates' practice in Uganda today, is in the house and doesn't need any further introduction because of the unfortunate circumstances that he has been through. And the Ugandan Law Society is honored to have him in the house tonight for purposes of sharing his own account of what it was, not the best of stories, but our kind of life in the work that we do, occupational hazard, so to speak. We would like to offer our sincere appreciation to Advocate Nasser Abed Mudiobole, who is a tried and tested advocate with whom I personally have a touch of over 2 decades ago, having gone to school with him and him having led me as a prefect. That was an interesting one. We used to call him, I beg to use the words, Tata Be. He was the head of the mess, and in his reign, he fought for our rights to have better meals, which was not an easy task, because at that time he was therefore fighting the administration to improve on our meals. So I am a little bit of who I am, courtesy of Councillor Abed, and I would like for us to clap for him at least. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, the next agenda item is to delve as well into this topic that has been brought to our minds and listen from Councillor Abed. Please. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. The protocol has already been observed. My name is Abed Nasser Mudiobole. I prefer adding this Abed Nasser Mudiobole of Iganga Municipality. It is becoming part of my title for my endless efforts in fighting injustice in that small area called municipality. Mine today is just to give a live account of what happened. You see, when you read these stories in different law books and historical books, we imagine they didn't take place. And when we are faced with our clients giving the ordeal of how they have suffered injustice, we imagine it is just cosmetic. My brothers and sisters, it is real. The torture chambers are there. People are suffering. You may see me without a scar or a wound, like our brothers, the Eddie Mutwes and others, but the torture is real and it is very serious. I was arrested on the 16th day of May from a hotel called Gold Rock Hotel in Chaliwajara. I was called by my good friend, Patricia, telling me, Counsel, where are you? I have a client. I told her I don't meet clients in hotels. And it's my practice. I don't meet clients in hotels, especially new clients. You should find me in my chambers. He said, it's quite urgent. We really need your advice. It's a land matter. I said, it's Friday, you know. Every Friday I go to serve my people who educated me, who participated in my way to where I am, and those are the people of Iganga municipality. She convinced me. Indeed, I accepted to meet the unknown in a hotel because I was also waiting for my wife, so that we moved to the village where we had other duties to perform over the weekend. Guess what? I was counting some millions, maybe some 3 million shillings for fuel. Little did I know that I was going to spend a week in cells. I thank the Almighty that it's a chapter in my life. I went through it, and I'm here to tell the story. When Patricia reached me, I saw her with a very shabby, angry-looking man. I imagined the kind of client she had brought to me. I said, fine. Can I take seats? 4 of them took seats, and the other 2 remained watching. I saw pistols around them. I knew I am under arrest. I convinced them to participate in the tea taking. They said, we are not here for tea, we are here for you. I said, what have I done? He said, for us, we are agents. You would explain to our superiors. I said, can you allow me finish up my tea? Because I'm quite hungry. I'd spent the previous hours at padded quarters of NUP, where we had a meeting for almost half day, and had not gotten a chance to eat because I had other people to address. They gave me 2 minutes to finish the entire pot of coffee, and I told them, please, I have fasted before, let's go. When I reached behind, I saw 19 gentlemen carrying guns, looking for just a mere mudi over here, whose instrument of war is just a pen. I requested them to drive me in my car. Because my car had a GPS, I knew my wife would trace for me. I told Patricia to call my wife, which she did. And because I was waiting for her, she drove fast to reach where we are, but the jam stopped her from reaching in time. I was taken, it was coming to 7, a little dark, and I was deposited in SIU cells. In the cells, they removed all prisoners and they were put in 2 other rooms. I was left alone in the room. Someone would say that I was treated as a VIP, according to other suspects. Say, for you, only VIP, because you've slept alone. However, in the said cells, there were 4 floodlights, all pointing at me from all corners. So you could not rest, you could not sleep. I spent the whole day, the whole night, not knowing whether it was night or day. What only saved me was the Muslim call, the adhan. Because the adhan of morning is a little different from the other adhans. So I realized it was 5, time for prayers. I conducted my prayers and waited for the next day to see what will happen. At about 6, obviously I had no watch. I just estimate based on the hours of prayer. About 6, a pickup came with 2 men, put me in the behind cabin, and they covered my head with a blindfold, black in color. They drove me from SIU But because I've spent quite some time in Kampala, I could guess where the vehicle was moving to. I was taken to CMI, JAT. On the way to JAT, they brought some other person. There is another torture chamber around Chinawataka as you go to CMI. Some other person was brought and handcuffed with me, also blindfolded. The blindfold is not just a simple blindfold. It's a thick cloth that you cannot see anything through. My brothers, when we are doing these cases of human rights, and someone tells you I was blindfolded, you will think it's maybe just a mere cloth. It is a thick cloth. I was taken to the place which I got to know it was CMI, because I'd never been to CMI before. So I knew the environment. I was interrogated under the said blindfold for 12 hours, non-stop. What pains me more is some of these people who are interrogating me were our members. They are lawyers. They were asking me questions when we were at LDC. When I mentioned my year, I said, oh, you are there before me, rather than you are there after me. So meaning they are our members. And as Uganda Law Society, I will seek the executive to take action against these errant people who are misleading the government. I recall in 2013, we had an incompetent Attorney General who misled the president to appointing was it Odochi back as a CJ and another illegal action. We stood with the president then through the petitions of Counsel Judy Mbabali and Bruce, the former president. The Uganda Society issued a certificate of incompetence where we dissociated ourselves from Nyombi. Now may his soul rest where it deserves. Because such a soul doesn't need to rest in peace. My brothers and sisters, from there, I was taken back, still under blindfold. They asked me all kinds of questions, unprofessional questions, and many others which are political. But one of those questions was that you are saying that Uganda is under captive, deposited in Uganda. Mugamba nti ogamba nti oyagala kununula nsiyo ani yajiwamba. That you are saying that you want to remove Uganda from dictatorship. Who took over your country? I told them, yes, you even yourselves, you're under captivity. That's why you cannot interview me while I'm seeing you. If you're not under captivity, why would I be blindfolded for all this time? What wrong are you hiding? Thereafter, my wife joined hands with Uganda Law Society, specifically our Vice President, Counsel Asimu. I'm very honored, Asimu, to be here with you. I'm very grateful with your services. I am very grateful with the Radical New Bar as a team. Thank you very much. Had it not been for Uganda Law Society, partly, I wouldn't be here now. Probably I would be here with wounds. Another thanks goes to my political party, the National Unity Platform. My president, His Excellency Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu, went to social media together with our Secretary General and leader of opposition and all other members to demand for my release. It's a combination of those factors, together with my family, headed with my wife, Counsel, who is also a member here, Counsel Mutamba Bena, that I saw justice after 6 days of being hidden. Thank you very much. My brothers and sisters, we have a mandate as lawyers. There are very many people. In SIU, there is a group of boys who have spent 70 months without being taken to court. They are in SIU. Mr. President, who is watching, and the Vice President who is here, we need to take action as lawyers. We need to take action because it's our mandate to enforce the rule of law. When you look at our mission, it doesn't only end there. Justice is a combination of factors. It's just not only to be taken to court, not only to not be abducted, but the Constitution is quite clear, and our act, which establishes the Uganda Law Society, is also clear on our mandate. Please, executive members, I urge you to take action because we are lying on people's blood. People are suffering, people are dying. I am privileged to have been a lawyer, and therefore you took action because I'm your member. The general public, whose mandate is in us as lawyers, is suffering. Vice President, people are in cells suffering. Because you filed the habeas corpus, I was produced in court in Iganga and sent to Iganga prison, where the president visited me after court. I slept in the same cell with guys who have spent 8 years. There's a man called Muyinda and another, I forget his name. They have spent 8 years on charges of murder without being committed to high court. Without being committed to high court. And we are here as lawyers, dressing smartly. Every smart person in Kampala streets is a counsel. Counsel. Even the Boda guys know us as counsel because we are smartly dressed. But we are smartly dressed while the people of Uganda are suffering. Mr. President, I want to champion the issue of enforcing automatic bails. Those who have spent the unconstitutional period, I want to champion it with the association with the Uganda Society to make sure all prisons are emptied of these people. People are suffering. You spend 9 years without being committed, and you are there. The worst situation is to be in a cell without knowing when you get out. It is the worst. When I was still in SIU, I was very worried. When am I getting out? I realized the class we represent, that they go through a lot. My brothers, for emphasis, Mr. President, injustice with impunity breeds illegitimacy. When you are injustifiably kept in cells for a crime you didn't commit, you only think about illegitimacy after your cells. The murders we see are based on injustices, especially injustice with impunity. We need to champion our calling, because no one is an advocate without a calling from the Almighty Allah. We are all what we are because the Almighty willed. We need to put in extra efforts to make sure that cells are not only empty, but they are full of those who have met justice. As a way forward, Mr. President, I am taking on a constitutional reference arising out of this colonial charge of unlawful drills. Unlawful drilling is a very, very archaic law that has no space in our current law books. I am taking it on. I will seek guidance from Uganda Law Society on how to proceed, but it's a very archaic law that even schools where we have assemblies, where they realize that the headmaster is an opposition person, that person will be charged of inspecting unlawful assembly. And they will charge you under that unlawful drills. Because the charge I was charged of, these were people who visited me at home. I was at my home with visitors who came to welcome me to National Unity Platform because I've been FDC for a long time. Now they told me, no, come and you see, we introduced you to these people. So they lined up. We moved. This one is Council Mississippi, for example. This one is Council Philip. This one is Barbara. This one is Maureen. There was nothing like any drilling that can be connoted to military drills. But like what I said, it's a chapter in my life. I thank the Almighty that I'm still alive and still unwounded. Mr. President and members, both present and those ones online, I'm also taking on, besides the constitutional petition, a human right application. Because in all the human rights statutes, local and international, blindfold is a kind of torture. When you are blindfolded, it is torture. You can only know that it is torture after you've gone through it. So I'm also taking on that one immediately after the next appearance, which is coming up on the 19th of June. My brothers and sisters, and to the President, Senior Counsel Isaac Semakade, I am seeking for a radical new bar executive order against these people, the lawyers who are participating in the torture of our members, of the members of the society, and also members of the public. If we don't dissociate ourselves from them, the public will think that we are part of them. But if we issued an executive order to dissociate ourselves from their actions and activities, even their families will know the effect of their children. We should not leave these things to only us, the victims of torture. We should come up as a society to make sure it ends with me. It ends with those who have been in it, and it doesn't come to any other person tomorrow or thereafter. Ladies and gentlemen, mine was only tell you the account of my abduction, which is quite interesting after you've gone through it. But during the process of that abduction, you don't know where you're going. You don't know what the next move is. You begin recalling Eddie Mutwe with all the wounds he had. You begin recalling Achileo and all these other political activists who are being tortured. And you imagine whether you come back with eyes. That also is a kind of torture. I went through a lot. I imagined my younger children, but I said, yeah, this is the cost of democracy and the cost of good governance. You don't need to relent. We need to continue pursuing. We need to move ahead. The times are now that we must stop this torture. We must tell those who are concerned that the torture is real. When you begin seeing people posting on social media, on Twitter, that we're coming for you, my brother, don't take this for fun. It is real, and it is real. It torments not only the victim, but also the family. As law society, we should not only end at condemning the actions of those who are torturing us, but we need to go ahead to take action, real action, to such members. Thank you very much for your time, for God and my country. I have not said hi to my Vice President and my council. Thank you very much for the great work, please.
Wow.
Advocate Nasser, we are speechless. We cannot imagine what you went through. Nonetheless, we thank Allah and God who has brought you this far amidst your inexplicable challenges. We shall leave you in the hands of the Lord, Allah, to bless you in all your tribulations and make you come out stronger. We, as the Ugandan Law Society, and on behalf of the Vice President and the President, appreciate your thick skin and your camaraderie, which can't be explained any further. We take note of your requests and way forward. The Vice President will be in perfect position to make appreciable responses to your requests. What the Ugandan Law Society is sure of is you're in the right hands. We are, as a Department of Rule of Law, standing with you and shall be very, very honored to welcome you in regard to taking on those kind of individuals that are not standing with what our vision is. Thank you so much. It takes too much for you to go through this and come and share your story. As you said, you're privileged to be an advocate, but imagine what the other people who are not advocates are going through. We want to also thank your dear wife, who we cannot go without appreciating for the effortless time that she gave us and supported the cause, especially towards the habeas corpus. And as you return, please carry our warm and sincere regards unto her and your lovely family. We also pray that God will bless you as you return to your feet and take on the tasks that you've been speaking about here. Thank you so much once again. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a deep session, but here we are, occupational hazards for advocates, and we look upon those that have gone through them to see to it that we don't go through the same. We thank you once again for your time. Those that are present, for those that are online, we appreciate and know that you're with us. We appreciate those that have come in the meantime. As we were speaking, we were honorably graced by the presence of the Honorable Treasurer of the Ugandan Law Society, Advocate Arthur Isiko. We thank you so much for your time. Thank you for making your way over here. We thank you for honoring the invitation. Ladies and gentlemen, we were also graced by the presence of the Honorable Vice President of the Ugandan Law Society, Advocate Anthony Asimwe. We thank you so much for making time amidst your busy schedule to join us and help to elaborate more on the issues that are at hand for this week. We bless you. We thank you as well for the presence of a senior advocate, Dennis Kusasira. We are so honored to have you around. Thank you for making time to share your wisdom with us. We thank you. As we move forth, I got a communication from the Benevolent Fund representatives in here. They have other programs that are quite engaging. They would love to be excused, but we were also honorable to accept to answer the questions that have kept coming in the meantime. So we would like to pause a little. We know there are very many questions for Advocate Nasser, and there's a number of other beautiful speakers that are going to come and speak about those topics that will follow thereafter. But we'd like to wind back to the Benevolent Fund and ask a few questions, if it's okay, And if you don't mind, you could move the microphone that is just next to the Vice President, activate it. You wouldn't want to disrupt you from coming this side. We have so far 3 questions. One of them is from our own CEO, who is in the house, the mother of the house, who appreciates very, very much for you to know that you're doing a wonderful piece of work representing the Uganda Law Society and the council, for you to take those flowers for yourselves. She was once approached by some young lawyers who were asking a question: who is supposed to pay, and is it all the same amount that is subjected to all categories of lawyers? Of course, we know that there are various categories of lawyers to whom different charges are subjected depending on the matter and the purpose. Thank you so much. Then one Mary Nakajugo is asking, but first makes a statement. Madam Lydia, you mentioned that the fund is open to paid-up members of the ULS. What happens if a member dies or gets terminally ill but wasn't a paid-up member for that year when he or she dies? Again, what happens if a member dies or gets terminally ill but wasn't a paid-up member for that year when he or she faces demise? Can he or she be able to access some funds to support his or her family or pay medical bills? Is that okay, ma'am? Thank you. Richard Akunovera, thank you for your messages, asks, is it okay for a member to send contribution higher than 75,000 shillings? I have suffered a terminal illness before, and I want to stand with any advocate who might be facing the same challenge. Once again, is it okay for a member to send a contribution higher than 75,000 shillings? I have suffered a terminal illness before, and I want to stand with any advocate who might be facing the same challenge. There you go, ma'am.
If you don't mind, I actually don't mind coming back there. Thank you very much for the audience, and Advocate Mudi Obole, I've been reading about you, and we thank God that you are here with us today. So I would like to start by making a small apology that when I was rushing through my presentation, I forgot to mention that the Uganda Law Society is a board member of the fund. And the Uganda Law Society is a member of the fund in its entirety as the Uganda Law Society. It's a statutory body, and all of you are members. So on that board, on our board, you are represented by the president himself, and the president is deputized by the vice president. So when Mr. Vice President walked in, you saw me smiling, because sooner than later, he's going to be sitting on our board, and he's going to be kind of like supervising us through that position that he holds on the board. We already have a place which committee is going to be sitting on, so that you are comfortable, but also so that we shorten the communication gap between the fund and the Uganda Law Society. So, Mr. Vice President, we shall be talking about this a little bit later, and you're welcome to the board of the fund. That's how the fund was structured. We mirrored it on the Kenyan fund, which I talked about earlier, and in their space, the president of the Law Society of Kenya and the vice president, they sit on the fund. And they are not deputized by anybody. They have to be there. But for us, we made some little bit of change because we knew that the president is usually a very busy person, but we shall work out the modalities or make sure that that happens, and sooner than later. So my apologies. The second apology is I forgot to mention, first of all, there is a mistake that I made, I think, in my presentation. The second batch of money came in March 2025, not 2024. So for that, I apologize. I also did not tell you that of now, because we're trying to be very careful how we manage the fund, we've got people who are sick, one of whom requires 100 million shillings. Another one requires another about 80 million. If we got 5 of those, and if we get 500 million, and we get 5 of those, what will happen to the fund? It will be depleted if we pay out all that money. So for the people that have been sick, none of them has paid less than 8 million shillings in their treatment. And I welcome the proposition by Mr. Richard Akunobera when he says that because he's been through it, he would like to up his contribution beyond the 75% that we're making. And we welcome that. What we shall do, we'll go back to the board, discuss that and see what we do with that kind of money when it comes. We need to put it in a special basket so that we can grow it and you can use it to support members. And any other people that feel in the same spirit of Richard Akunobera, you please very welcome. We shall manage that money and make sure that it supports other people as in that space. So what have we done? So far, each and every person who has come to us, as I told you earlier, we've paid them 1.5 million shillings. Now that may look like peanuts. Indeed, we feel like it's peanuts, but we had to start somewhere. We started somewhere, and what have we done? We have been even across the board. We have not been selective. We have not been cherry picking, because every single person, whether you need 8 million or you need 100 million, you are sick and you need to be supported. Soon we shall see ladies who go to Mulago to give birth or whichever hospital, and they will probably also need support. So what we're doing now is give inpatient support. I told you that Kenya is giving the equivalent of 3.5 million shillings for inpatient support. So, but we are looking at ways and means of how can we better this basket of medical support, because we know what it is. 2019, my husband had 2 operations, and we had to go to Germany. You get there the first week, all the little savings that you've had are gone. So what happens? You get support from members, friends, family, and everything. So I've lived it. I know what it is. I've lived this story. I know what it is. 2019. Then you come back. They're looking after a patient doesn't stop. You continue visiting doctors, what. And each time you visit a doctor, you have to get into your pockets. So in a way, I think God put me in this place for a reason, because I've lived some of these things. I've lived some of these experiences. I've had some cancer patients in my own house. I know what it is to go through a cancer illness. Now, let me go to the other questions. Then the other thing that we're going to try to propose, because we are having challenges, the very question that Mary Nakajugo has asked borders on the issue of membership to the fund and contributions to the fund. We have got this annual subscription that we make for members for the Uganda Law Society to be able to practice law. We've got a category of people who don't actually practice law, but they want to belong to the fund. So we're also looking, how can we get those people to come and be part of us? We have not yet come up with an answer, but we're trying to see how best we can come to that position. Now, with respect to that issue, we are saying that maybe at the fund level, we should introduce a one-off membership fee. And we don't want to make it so big as to make it impossible for people to pay it. Maybe between 5,000 to 10,000. Now, 5,000 to 10,000 looks small, but with the law of numbers, multiply that by 5,000 members, 6,000 members, you know where that will take us. We will have a pot of money which we can now use maybe for administrative purposes, so that we don't touch the fund. Get to the fund too for the administrative part of it. But that is something that we shall bring to the annual general meeting to be passed by the members. We're trying to make it as small as possible, so that every single lawyer, the ones who are just coming out of Makerere, the ones who are starting to establish their firms, the ones who are looking for, COVID did things to us. COVID depleted our work, didn't it? So we are now struggling to come back, raise our feet. As the economy picks up, we are also struggling. So we know and we feel your pain. That's why we are saying, when we talk to the insurance companies and somebody comes and says, you people, you don't know how insurance works. We're talking to one of them recently. We don't know how insurance works. We are going to charge you 1 million shillings per member to get medical cover. And I'm like, are you real? 1 million? We can't afford it. We are giving you 5,000 members. The law of numbers. Can't you bring down the premium? So those are some of the conversations we're having. Now, with respect to members who die or fall terminally ill, or even just ill, you may be ill but not terminally ill, but you are not able to earn, and because you're not able to earn, you're not able to pay your subscription. We've already had members who have had that challenge, and we've dealt with them. What the Law Society has been doing, if so you did not pay for 2024, they give you what I think say either waiver or an exemption from 2024, and then they ask you if you may to pay for 2025. So we have got already a member who has asked for a waiver from the Uganda Law Society, and he paid for 2025. In fact, he said, no, let me pay for 2025. He himself said, I need to pay for 2025. So he has paid for 2025, and he was waived for 2024. We have got a member who we are going to seek waiver. The classmates collected the money for him for 2025, and it was paid, I think, last week. And they have also paid the money for 2024 when the benevolent fund started. They said, no, let us even pay his 100,000. The classmates have written to the vice president, the letter hasn't yet been delivered, to ask for a waiver for that person. You get what I'm saying? So yes, we are trying to establish a humane outfit. Yeah? Yes, the regulatory framework, which is very rigid. You know how the law is, you know? Some people say the law is an ass sometimes. So the law is rigid, and this is what it says. But where is the human face? So we're going to try and put the human face to the fund to make sure that we take each case on a case-by-case basis. Somebody is sick. There was one who was sick. He told me, Lydia, I couldn't work for the whole of 2024. But let me collect some money and I pay for 2025. I said, okay, fine. But can you ask for a waiver from the Uganda Law Society? So that is the beauty of having the symbiotic relationship between the fund and the Uganda Law Society. Some people were asking, but why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do? Well, we needed to separate this out of the way, because otherwise the vice president and council will be busy dealing with just the sick. You people, I don't know how many calls I've got in the last week. I get calls like there's somebody who was calling me every 2 hours, and I could understand. He was in pain, he was desperate, so his only reason was to call me. Yeah? Once he got my number, said, Lydia, this and that and the other, I need to be in this place, I need to do that, you know. So in other words, we have now become psychotherapists, you know. So I think sooner or later we shall also get the therapists and the counselors to be able to help us, because there are some other issues which are not medical necessarily, but which require mental health, which require that psychotherapy. Yeah? You've got challenges, your family is on your back, your children are not going back to school, somehow your farm is not working well, you've not got business. These are things that we are our day-to-day lives, and yet you have got families to look after. Your parents are looking at you, your father is in hospital. These are some of the things that we need to look at, and how can we help each other to support one another. So yes, Mary, we shall look into that and we shall give you a post. Now, somebody asked who is supposed to pay, and is it still the same amount for all lawyers? As for now, it is the same amount for all lawyers. Why am I saying that? When illness strikes, when death comes, it does not segregate. It does not say, you Lydia, you're a senior lawyer, you know, you've worked for a very long time, you know, cancer won't come, or you will not be hit by a brick as you're going back home. One of our colleagues was hit by a brick as he was going back home. We are lucky that counsel is here and he doesn't show any physical, but we could have had another situation where now he would be in hospital with wounds probably. So we would also have to support them. So for now, I think let us take care of our health. Let us put aside money to take care of our health. Nobody is going to do that for us. Okay? If you're going to have a bottle of beer or 2 or 3 or 4, before you have that bottle of beer, say, have I saved some money with a circle? Have I saved some money to put as part of my benevolent care, my health? So that is the answer to that question. And as I conclude, I'd like to thank Council very much for supporting us. They have given us space, an office space. If we are not been given that space, we're going to pay 500 to 1 million shillings in rent. That would have meant quite a bit of money, 12 million shillings out of your pocket, out of our pocket, to go to rent. So having given us that space, we don't take it for granted. We thank you very much for that. And we've been working together very closely. We shall be having some shared services as we go along, the details of which we shall work out with the council. and the CEO, but I can say that they have given us a very, very nice welcome. We've worked very well with them. And hopefully, this, when we leave as the inaugural board, we hope that this, what we have started, will go beyond, it should live beyond us. So that when we are long gone, we shall say, or our children and the children of our children shall say that they were there and it was good when we started it. And it made a difference to the members' lives. Mr. Vice President, thank you very much. He shared with me. He's just been out of the country and he's come back with some ideas of other countries that have done this. When we started, we did not hear about Zambia, we did not hear about Cote d'Ivoire. He seems to have come with a wealth of experience. The good thing is that he sits on our board and he shall bring that experience to enrich the fund. And may God bless you for God and the Uganda Society, for God and the Health and Benevolent Fund, and for God and my country. I thank you. Please, I beg your pardon to depart. It's not out of disrespect. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you so much once again, the Benevolent Fund, under the able leadership of Advocate Lydia. We appreciate you. And just before you leave, we are very sorry. It is protocol and procedure. We normally have a group photo with the speakers for the day. We'd like to indulge you kindly, just for a second, in the presence of the Vice President and the Honorable Treasurer. Please. Over here, please. In front of them. Not the window. Should be next to this man. Next man might need the Benevolent Fund very soon. Looking for me. Yes. I need the Benevolent Funds. Smile. That's okay. Very sorry. All right, thank you so much once again. We appreciate your time, those online especially. We thank you for the Secretariat staff that are here with us. We don't take your time for granted. We're trying to make this fast as possible. We know you have busy schedules, but here we are. And without further ado, as we see off the Benevolent Fund, we would like to continue to appreciate your work. You've spoken from a motherly perspective, just as an advocate and colleague. We thank you for the services that you're offering. Members of the ULS, you have heard it loud and clear that the Benevolent Fund is housed at the ULS house. You are all welcome to ask questions that may not have been asked today. We'd like to honorably excuse you. Thank you so much. We appreciate. Yes, going forward, ladies and gentlemen, yes, we are going to revert to Advocate Nasser's situation in which we were tackling the tyranny against the advocates
And without further ado, because of time, we are going to run straight to the next speakers that are going to help us to address this matter. It's not something that will easily go unnoticed. And with us, as the next speaker, we have a lawyer, an academic, and a researcher whose research interests include, amongst others, constitutional rights, constitutional designs, I beg your pardon, human rights, and international criminal justice. He is currently the National Human Rights Officer, Rule of Law and Accountability at the United Nations Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights, Uganda. He is, of course, he holds an LLB, as well as him being present in the house with us. Ladies and gentlemen, we would like to present unto you Dr. Frederick Sechindi. Thank you, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. I have to start by recalling some of the things that have been said there. Yes, I worked for the United Nations Office of the High Commission for Human Rights until recently. So my last posting was in Ethiopia. I have also worked here, but I don't know if anybody knows how the UN system works. They put you on the roster sometimes and they call you to go here, to go there, to go there. So I cannot stand here and say, look, I'm speaking for the UN. So I just wanted to make sure that I clarify that. Okay, I am delighted to be here and for the opportunity to speak with you and share my understanding as an armchair lawyer. And what do I mean by that? You know, very early in my practicing career, I decided that running to court was not for me. That I look at things differently, that I interrogate laws, that I scrutinize processes, I study issues, I deal with issues of reform. So my interest in law is not running to court, but in scrutinizing laws, in informing laws, in writing laws, in petitioning for reforms, and in improving, so I treat laws, hence the title doctor. So my PhD is in constitutional law, and it's legit. I'm sure you've heard about the Wall of Fame, and I know people that can vouch for that. But I've also got a master's in human rights and international law. I want to take a moment and look at this conversation differently, as an armchair lawyer. And recounting what I have had first from the advocate who suffered those atrocities, and also considering the president's speech, I want to situate my conversation with you today in the context of accountability. As advocates, as lawyers, what you do, as I understand it, is enforce accountability for human rights violations. But I want to look at the history, and some of the things will border on things that have been said here. Because this morning, as I made my way here, I thought, let me look at how we've dealt in this country with issues of accountability for human rights, and in particular, enforced disappearances. I tend, as a person, as somebody who likes engaging conversations, but I understand this is not a forum for that, to share ideas, not to stand or speak down to people. So, in my view, there are three references for human rights in this country. If you want to understand this country, if you want to understand, for instance, the provisions of the Constitution of Uganda, there are three authoritative documents or reports that you have to understand. And this is where my story comes from, or the story I'm going to tell you comes from. Once Amin seized power in 1971, he commissioned a commission of inquiry into enforced disappearances. So what that commission did, and here, kind of structure your thoughts with me. What I am going to trace is how we've dealt with accountability for human rights violations, but leaning on particularly enforced disappearing. So that commission, what the commission did, it was led by an Indian judge called Said. And I have a copy of all these documents. Whoever wants to read it, I promise you, you'll be a mad person like me at the end of this. So the Said Commission, or the Commission of Inquiry into Disappearance of Peoples, made several documents. So grouped people that had disappeared between 62 independence and 71 when Amin took over. So once that commission produced that report, and it's not been made very public, this is why I am sort of massaging my ego to say that I have that report. Apparently, Amin butchered that judge who led that commission. But the commission had several telling issues. It documented people that had disappeared. But I want to focus on Amin's response to that. So what Amin did, as you will all know that he ruled by decree, he issued decree number, bear with me, I don't want to get this wrong. He issued decree number 8 of 1972. And you know what the decree said? It said anybody who acted in authority of government, exercising government authority, should be absolved of any human rights, abuses that occurred. So that was the first response. Now, followed by that, he faced another dilemma, and that dilemma was that the law at that moment provided that a person is deemed dead if he's been reported missing for 7 years. So what Amin did is he issued another decree of 73, decree number 8, which said, no, it will now be 6 months. So, all the people that were disappeared between independence and 71, that's how we dealt with them. That's how we dealt with the accountability issues in this country and human rights violations that occurred during that period. So move forward. Amin decided that, so that's what the Commission of Inquiry into Violations of Human Rights report tells us, and the legal regime that dealt with human rights abuses pre-1971. So we come now to, Amin is gone. You probably know that successive regimes issued legal notices that gave them the authority to rule over this country. So in '86, when the NRM government came to power, it commissioned a commission of inquiry into violations of human rights. So for me, that's the second reference report. If you want to understand, first of all, the provisions, that commission recommended the creation or the adoption of the 95 Constitution, and every provision in that country, in that Constitution, is explained, the thinking of the framers of that Constitution. So if you want to understand why, for instance, the right to a fair trial is a non-derogable right in Uganda's Constitution, and this is not common everywhere, and I've had the advantage of foreign educations and working in different countries. So if you want to understand why, for instance, we're saying the Constitution of Uganda says the right to a fair trial is a non-derogable right, you need to go back and understand the thinking of the framers of the Constitution, and that is in the commission, the report of the Commission of Inquiry into violations of human rights. But here's what the commission said, you know. It said, look, we are going to develop an accountability mechanism. And that accountability mechanism is in the Bill of Rights that you find in the Constitution. And here is why I want to appeal to you as practicing lawyers. You know, I've had conversations, you know, I have done this for a while. I've trained police officers, I've trained lawyers, I've trained judges, I've trained human rights defenders. So you will sit in a meeting of educated people, of judges, and say, do you realize that the Constitution says that the person who is being arrested must be informed of their reasons of arrest as soon as practicable? And somebody will tell you. One day a policeman told me, hey, but doctor, the moment I chase that person and I arrest him and I take him to the police, don't they know what they've done? So a judge asked me, tell me, how does that disadvantage the person, the arrestee? But if you look at the framers, the thinking of the framers of their Constitution, here's a story, and it goes like this. They say, we have, because this Constitution was written following a consultative process. So the Constitutional Committee, led by Adoki, traveled across the country, listening to people, collecting their views about what happened to them, in order to frame the provisions of the Constitution. So let's give a simple example. So this commission sits in Nakawa. Person comes up and says, right, one morning I was walking with my dad to work. And as he stood by the taxi place to get on taxi to go to work, a truck pulled up, man jumped off, grabbed him. I said, okay, go on, what happened? He said to the army man, what have you done? What have I done? Where are you taking me? And the response was, Pandagari. Pandagari. And this person will go on to narrate that, you know what happened after? Say, we heard that my dad was held in our mansions for 6 months, but we had to pay, do you know what Nile Mansions is now known as? Serena Hotel. So that's where the safe house was. Okay, so what happened? So they asked us for X amount of money, but we didn't have the money. Says, okay, what happened next? After we collected the money a year later, having sold everything that we have, we went back to Nile Mansions using an agent, and that person, our dad, was not there. And that person said to us after we gave him our money, that go to Namanve and you find his body there. So for me, what comes clearly to me when I read Article 23, the right to be informed immediately, the right to be detained in a place authorized by law, the right to inform your next of kin, which an average policeman, and allow me to argue that an average lawyer, I may be rude here, will not go to court and say, but my client was never told. When I keep saying this, people say, you've been watching too many American movies. You've got the right to, those are American whatever. But the reason why the framers of our Constitution put those provisions in that Constitution is to address these particular issues. So, it is yours and I responsibilities as people who, I'm on the other side, I keep talking these things, I don't practice them, but I think you have a responsibility, you know, because we have whitewashed certain things, and this has led us to where we are. They look very simple, you know, but as we snowball, I think it's Professor Olukonyango that wrote that new bottles, old wine. Has anybody seen that thesis? So he says, and one politician also said to me, that the problem of Uganda is Ugandans. And he argues that whoever has authority, whether you or me, will exercise it the same way. I've studied constitutions across the world, and I wonder why we create an executive monster in these documents that we entrench all authority in. You'll be the command of this, you'll be the owner of this, you'll be the owner of this, you'll be the owner of this, you do this, you do this. And then we say, ooh, we have a monster that is uncheckable. I mean, how can you check that level of authority? As a student of constitutional law, I ask myself, the problem of Africa is the monster that we have created in constitutionalism. When we transited from kings or whoever as kingdoms, what we had is we had divine authority entrenched in a ruler whose authority was not questionable. I am the king, my authority is given to me by God. I'll do what I want. So we decided as a people that we'll transit into creating an arrangement with the rulers that govern us in order to check their authority. And in doing that, we created this thing we call a constitution. But in that constitution, we created a monster similar to the king that ruled us, whose authority was unquestionable. And I say it is difficult for us to change to challenge that authority, to check that authority, until we think as a people, how can we write better constitutions? Sadly, all the constitutions that have governed us as a people have been written by people in power. And I argue that the primary purpose was to entrench their authority in power. So we need to rethink a lot of things. So to you, my dear friends, I ask that you pay attention to those little provisions in the Constitution. And whoever wants to understand the thinking of the framers of the Constitution, as I say, I've got all those documents. I've had arguments, made by some people recently, the troublemakers that I associate with, trying to explain to judges in court the spirit of the Constitution, the reasoning between certain provisions, and I think that has not struck them. And I argue that it has not struck most of you as lawyers. Otherwise, you would defend furiously those provisions that look very basic, that led to the policeman saying to me that if I've chased that man and arrested him, and don't they know what they have done? But that's where we are. Now, I understand, and I am going to sort of broaden this conversation. I understand from my reading that if you look at what happened in the aftermath, because what we are thinking now is how can we resist human rights abuses, a forced disappearance, torture. My reading indicates that at the beginning of the 90s, late 80s, you could never go anywhere in this country and pick up somebody, whether you're a policeman or without speaking to the LC. The LC would ask you, where are you taking my resident? And the LC would need to know where this person has gone and who is the arresting authority, So progressively, we are getting our eye off the ball. We've watered down certain things, and I think it is important for us to revisit the conversation or understanding of our human rights framework in order for us to be able to defend it ably, or to have conversations with those that we engage in this level of work. So among some of the issues that the Commission of Inquiry into Violations of Human Rights recommended that should be in the Constitution is that we as the people of this country should be allowed to petition international human rights mechanisms. The UN has got a system, the African Union has got a system that didn't make it to the Constitution. But I think there's a fora there. There are frustrations, I understand, with international and regional mechanisms for enforcing human rights. I do understand that. But I want to end with giving you hope. As a law student, I was somewhere in a different part of the world when a gentleman known as Agostino Pinochet was arrested. Has anybody heard about Agostino Pinochet? So Agostino Pinochet was the president of Chile, and after he retired, he came to the UK to get medical treatment. So Chile was a colony of Spain. So most of the people that had suffered persecution during his regime had fled to Spain. So what they did is they petitioned a court in the UK and they said, you have to arrest that person for these atrocities. And Pinochet was arrested. And he tried. I'm sure you've heard of the concept or the doctrine in international law of universal jurisdiction. So while we've struggled with accountability in this country, maybe the alternative is for us to look at international systems. And as you may know, there are certain crimes that have got universal jurisdiction, which means that for some countries, if you've tortured somebody in Kazakhstan, if you disappeared somebody in China, if you step in German, German will arrest you and prosecute you. the work of human rights, I find it difficult, or international law, to sell it to young people because they don't see any light at the end of the tunnel. But I tell them that now and then I pick up these things that I read all day, all night. I pick up something from somewhere that says a Nazi criminal, age 88, has been found hiding in Argentina and is being taken back to Nuremberg to face charges of atrocities that he committed during the Second World War that ended in 19. There you go. It is frustrating for us. It's difficult to sell to young people the work of human rights. It's difficult for practitioners like you because there is no hope. But I derive hope from stuff like that. From what happened to Pinochet. You may have read recently that the former head of state of Philippines, so many years after X amount of atrocities that he was accused of, he's now before the ICC. So I think we have several options. Ours is a long haul. The question is whether you're determined to stick with it. Things like what happened to my brother will happen. We don't excuse that, but the key important is to document them, is to keep records, is to ensure that we do within our legal framework enforce accountability, albeit frustrating, of the minor, tiny, little things that I'm trying to explain what the thinking of the framers of our Constitution were. And I can assure you that if we lose hope, if we don't do anything about this, if we don't keep records, if we are not creative in our thinking, this seems like an unwinnable battle, but I believe we can win it. I thank you for listening to me.
Thank you so much, Doctor, for your wise words. They're very, very deep and a very, very wide spectrum of knowledge that you come with unto us. We are very honored for the wisdom that you've shared. And whereas you say progressively we are getting our eyes off the ball, you've still left us with a lot of things and questions to ask, especially that includes critical and creative thinking of how we as Ugandans can be a solution to the problems that Uganda has that is said to be started by Ugandans. Thank you so, so much for your wisdom. We pray that God bless you in your endeavors, and we thank you that you have made time to grace this occasion and ask that your expertise shall be made more of use with the Uganda Law Society, especially in constitutional affairs. We thank you so much. Please, a hand clap for him. Yes, going forward, we would like to continue to thank you, members online and those present, for your time. We're trying to run this fast enough. We're going to go straight into listening in from the next speaker about the same topic, not to digress. We have a very important person who doesn't need so much introduction because he's been a part of us before. He's an eloquent person who we're going to hear from. Ladies and gentlemen, The person we're talking about has a bachelor's of laws from the UCU, Uganda Christian University, and a diploma in legal practice from the LDC. He has wide experience in public interest litigation as well as alternative dispute resolution from across the East African region. He is the managing partner of Pace Advocates and has been here before and will come to share with us much more on the same topic. And ladies and gentlemen, allow me introduce unto you Advocate George Musisi. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, friends. In light of the time, I think I'll be brief. I acknowledge the President, the Vice President, my brother Anthony, council members present, the CEO and the staff, distinguished members of ULS in the audience, my brother Dr. Fred, and of course, the general public. In light of what our brother Abed shared, I will just touch on a few things pertaining to the issues of abductions, the issues of enforced disappearances. Many times, when as lawyers, we are accused of being inward-looking, that when they abduct Abed, they say they have abducted a lawyer. The same goes to our friends in the media. When they were beaten in Kawempe, they say they have beaten up journalists. And people were asking, but they beat up people every day. How comes the media has not been talking? And I think Abed has mentioned about it, saying that actually I found so many other people. Now, we come from the background that Uganda is so compartmentalized, so polarized at the moment, that if something has happened to border people, taxi people won't mind. If it's happening to lawyers, accountants won't mind. In fact, the other day I saw even judges won't mind. And recently, someone was joking, although I hope, against hope that joke never comes true, that maybe judges will only get a rude awakening when maybe a judge is dragged out of court. We all saw the ugly scenes happening in a courtroom. I'm glad the judiciary condemned. Whether that action was enough, it's another place altogether. But there are a lot of abductions. And why we call them specific abductions, I remember one time the chairperson of UHRC had a problem with that word abductions. Because an arrest is defined in the law, in the Constitution, that you tell me why you're taking me. You tell me of the charge. You give me a chance to inform my next of kin or lawyer. You detain me in a gazetted place and then arraign me in a court of law, not beyond 48 hours. What happens now, even if, of course, the polarization we're talking about now, many people think that is a noob thing. I remember when we were killing Muslim sheikhs, people used to say, no, those are Muslims killing each other, as if there's any Muslim who has a right to kill another Muslim. Those are Muslims. And people are so detached. I think it was in the president's speech, which was read by our brother, which said that resist injustice before it's meted out to you or your loved ones. I received a phone call from Abed is my moko, because Bena is my sister. I received a phone call from Bena very early on Saturday morning on the 17th. And of course, because it was so early and I was rushing somewhere, I was like, okay, I'll call back Bena when I hit the road. I thought she was going to talk about politics. And before I could step out, I saw on social media Aaron Kiza tagged me and talked about the arrest of Abed. And I knew that was the reason why Bena was calling. The beauty, if I can call it ironic as it may sound, in Abed's abduction is that he was not tortured, is that he can still come here smart in a tie. Many people like that, like him, who have gone through the same ordeal, come back brutalized. Many of them don't appear in court within 6 days. They don't have the advantage. People come dressed like Fred, albeit shabby. Many of them, of course, heavily armed, in unregistered vehicles, take you to an unknown place, hold you for as long as possible, and many times, actually, they release without charge. That is the desire. They even release without charge. Many of them, that means that the intention is just to torture you. Because 90% of the abductions, actually they're never charged in court. Of course, for those who are charged in court, it's even a different matter whether the prosecution is ever successful. So this is, this is where I want to urgently call on the ULS, Mr. Vice President, that we still have scars from the last general election. We still have 18 people who are missing. Their families have never seen them again. They were taken in the run-up and in the course of the last election. 18 Ugandans who were alive, like me and you, who have families. Some of them were young, they have parents, but they have never been seen again, leave alone dead ones. Some of them were taken with other people, and the other people were released, and these people have never. So the apathy I'm talking about is that in Uganda today, we actually can afford to sit here. But when there's a person who's taken by shadowy people, and he has never been seen again, it's so bad. I think it's even worse than death, because death you get some bit of closure that I've buried my loved ones. We still have, since the last election to date, we have over 100 political activists, or even just enthusiastic supporters who have been taken, like they took Abed. And of course, why it's not going to spare lawyers, why it may not spare judicial officers, why it may not spare MPs, is because of the apathy that has grown. I'm sure many of you are in WhatsApp groups where you say something and someone says drone yagala Karachi, meaning it has been regionalized. Now there's even a new one, Mobesimenti. Very soon you are going. I even see government officers joking about it on Twitter, saying, this one is." The other day, I saw Minister of Child Affairs saying this one is due for enrollment in the academy. So that, which is meant to be a joke, actually is trying to ingrain it in Ugandans to the extent that when you go to police now, like Bena went to report, Bena was even lucky that the police opened up a reference file. Many of them, when they say drones, no, that is CMI. They don't even open up. The climax, if I can call it that, you saw what happened 2 weeks ago, where a senior police officer was arrested by the army at police headquarters before his bosses, and police couldn't even come up to own it up. The police spokesperson, 4 days later, while addressing the press, couldn't say that actually this person was taken by our maybe sister agencies. You're saying, no, I don't have any information. But this is a senior police officer, not a junior constable, arrested from police headquarters. Now imagine if Abed had been taken from here, God forbid, in the presence of Mr. Vice President here. And then when the media asks Anthony, and he says, no, I'm not aware of his whereabouts. That is the extent of the capture that we're talking about. Sadly, any person can be a victim. Having listened to a number of people who have been in those basements and torture chambers and all, I know that the majority of people there actually are not political activists. They are over there in civil disputes. I was told of a land broker who was trying to conclude a deal with some buyers, and the land was owned by a certain general, and I was told they had been in CMI custody for over 6 months. Nothing to do with politics. Actually, the political activists are even lucky that some people are making noise for them. If Abed didn't have this support of ULS and the general public and making noise, maybe he would still be there. And maybe he would still be there. So this is a cancer that is for all of us, and it's up to us as the front line to fight it, because at the end of the day, it will not spare any of us. Lastly, I would like to talk about the issue of institutional responsiveness. In the President's message, he reiterated the call for lawyers, and of course, just like we shouldn't be focused on only lawyers, but it's up to everyone to fight. But even lawyers, we have a stronger role. I know that one lawyer can do so much in those things. One lawyer can do a lot. And I also have a request, maybe Uganda Law Society may consider engaging the civil division of the High Court. We have a problem with appreciation of the right of habeas corpus and the applications. The previous past, before the new realignments in the division, there was a particular judge. Unfortunately, most of the habeas corpus would be assigned to him. At least he would hear them in a timely manner. You would file it on Monday and you would fix it for Wednesday or Thursday. With the realignment, the other day there were 2 applications filed. where the judge had fixed them for 2 weeks later. You can imagine an application of habeas corpus being fixed for 2 weeks later. So, in light of the season that we are going into an election period, we are going to a politicking season, that is one of the things which is going to be very needed. And we need a cadreship of lawyers to be there on call. And not just, but we don't need a crowd to say that, okay, if we get 10, we can. I know that even 3 people can do so much. The issue is to be committed, because when you're in the basement somewhere, you can only pray that someone out there is fighting for you, because you are helpless. You can only pray that someone there is fighting, making all the necessary noise. But apart from noise, because many times noise doesn't move, it has to take court action. From the standard practice has always been that the moment you serve them we serve the AG and they serve CMI with court documents, they would either release or charge. That was always the standard. And the noise, even for 1 month, they would continue holding. So we need action as lawyers. We need to be on the front. We need boldness. And of course, knowing that we have an apathy in response in the institutions. I've talked about police, I've talked about UHRC, I've talked about courts, how some judicial officers interpret this. However, mindful that this is all happening when we have very good laws. We have good laws against torture, we have good laws on the Human Rights Enforcement Act. But the question is, how comes in the last 5 years, when we have those good laws, that's when we've seen the biggest attack on violations under Chapter 4. The issues of liberty, the restrictions on unlawful detention, on even the right to life, like we know. So if it will have to take us to appreciate looking at this outside our boxes, that it's not a political problem, it's not a lawyer's problem, it's a problem for the rule of law, which is the biggest fundamental in our country. I thank you for listening to me, and I pray that we all live to be in a better country. I thank you.
Thank you so much, Advocate George Musisi. You were very eloquent in what you kept saying. You've maintained your position off the cuff. Thank you so much for the comments and for standing with Advocate Abed. We bless you as the ULS. I'm very sure, beyond doubt, that the Vice President and the Treasurer, in representation of the Council, have received your cries and requests at the same time, and they'll surely have an opportunity to address them. We thank you once again for your time. Once again, a hand clap for Advocate George. We thank you once again for continuing to stand with us. We are also at a time where questions are welcome, if there are any as well in the House, because it's a very, very critical topic that I know can require 1 or 2 questions. We're open to questions just for a few minutes before we take the honor to invite the next speaker, who is going to take us through the next agenda item. Any questions from within, please? And any online, please? Okay, if they know, or rather, they could keep on flowing. We are going to take the next opportunity to invite the Honorable Vice President, who came, like we said earlier, during the session, and communicated his programs before, and it is at this opportune moment that we'd like to honorably invite the Vice President, Advocate Anthony Asimwe, who is going to take us through the next agenda item with what is said in way of representing council. Ladies and gentlemen, the Vice President of Uganda Law Society, Advocate Anthony Asimwe.
All right, thank you very much, Robert. First of all, I'd like to appreciate our speakers, the people who have been here today to share with us. Doctor, thank you very much for coming. I know I called you on short notice, but you still made it. George, you've always been open every time we call upon you to give us a perspective of the happenings. Abed Nasa, I don't know whether to congratulate you or whether to welcome you back from that ordeal. it can go both ways. I do recognize our president, who should be online, Isaac Chimaze Semakade, the treasurer who is here physically. We have senior members of the bar, Advocate Kusasira and our colleagues. The ULS Secretariat staff in the room, all those who are online, and the other members of the bar. Now, before I go to the R&B important announcements, I would like to also speak into perspective. Most of you had the ordeal NASA went through. And I must say, some of these things, we hear them as stories. But until it happens to your very own or yourself, some of us have been criticized for, speaking out. People have reached out and said, hey, what are you doing? You're Fachi. Okay. Either I'm going to finish all the problems in this world. And others say, what if they also take you? Why don't you, why don't you be low? Eh? What is the problem with you? Eh? Your children are going to suffer. And it reminds me of the words of a famous German pastor who said that first they came for the socialists, and I kept quiet because I was not socialist. They came for the trade unionists. I kept quiet because I was not one. They came for the Jews. I didn't speak out because I was not a Jew. And then when they came for me, there was no one left to speak for me. So that's actually what gives me the courage. And I bet you must thank, like George, like Councilman Sisa has said, there are so many people out there, and like he said, there are so many people there who are inside. There's no one to speak for them. There's no one to fight for them. Unfortunately, we are not aware of their being there because of the time, how they are abducted and how they are taken, how they are arrested. Probably no one saw, no one knows. I remember we had a situation here about 2 years ago when one of our drivers was also, grabbed in that manner. And what saved the day was there was a young child who knew him, very young child who saw and rushed, told the wife that Uncle so-and-so has been. I saw men in a Primo, they had guns, they picked him and threw him in that car. So when the child told the wife rushed and came to office. I was still staff at the Secretariat. And that's when we started the hunt. Similar to what Abed has just explained, it was after taking action of pressure and people knowing that there are people there looking for him. People have actually somehow identified and known that he's in their hands, that this man was released. And the story, the order he gave was, of all the people in that safe house, I'm the only one who got out. The rest were abandoned in another truck and taken away. So I thank God that you people actually came out. So he knows that if there was no one fighting for him, if ULS had not come up, we came out as his employers to look for him, probably he would have gone with other people. Why they were taken, no one knows. Now, Councillor Bed, you must thank your wife so much. She's also a member and a friend. Because I remember immediately she received a phone call. I was the first person she called, I think. She called and informed me, Councillor Nasa has been abducted. What are you talking about? It was, I think, Friday evening. She's like, I'm still in traffic jam. I was headed there, but someone has called me and told me. So I immediately reached out to, the fellow council members online, and we tried to agree on how do we handle the situation, because that's the information I got at first-hand information. And I told her, what are you doing so far? She's like, no, I don't know how to begin from, but I know it's been taken with by gunmen. So many guns in the vehicle and all that. So because we've seen this happen, and by the way, we're almost normalizing it. We are almost taking it like a normal event for someone to be arrested in such a manner. That is why it's like members of the public are beginning to become comfortable with it. Even lawyers are becoming comfortable with it. Like, oh, it's okay, it's normal. It has happened to so-and-so. So I advise that, let's go to the nearest police report and all that. Let's try to find out. What we did as the RNB immediately released, you must have seen a flyer going around on where is Abenas. Because in our belief it was, these are people who are in plain clothes. You can't say they are security agencies. You cannot know. It could be, people can easily take advantage of this. Other people, wrongdoers, someone has a score with you, they want to harm you, and they hide behind that. And that is the danger when there's that erosion of the rule of law, when it is left in the hands of the public. So people will begin taking this, the wrong elements will begin taking advantage of this. And we shall all assume, maybe it is government, or maybe it is, state agents, because that's what has happened, when actually person has been kidnapped by unknown people. That is why even sometimes when you go to report at police, they are very reluctant. They'll even ask you, how was the person taken? So when you give such an ordeal, they'll not give you much of, they'll assume it is other security agencies that have done that, because they've normalized that illegal way of, arresting people. We don't want to use the word arrest, the forced disappearances. So they also don't help much. But I want to thank the members who really, one thing you need to know is that the members were behind, pushing for your freedom. In a flash of a second, this flyer became viral. People started calling from all over, those who are members, those who are not members. And now we've started learning that there are so many ways we can advocate, we can do advocacy for, in such scenarios. So the members really, the whole weekend, and also members of the media, they reached out, they did interviews, they aired this out, because I don't remember how many media houses I addressed that weekend. At some point I had to call Bana to appear with her for an interview to give first-hand information, because I didn't want to keep giving hearsay. So I think I had to appear with her to give that kind of ordeal. On top of moving to different police stations, different safe houses, to try and look for our member, because now he became our problem, he became our business because he's our member. But like I said, are we thinking of the other members? As the members, as the bar, we have a duty, not only to our members, but also to the public. What are we doing for the members of the public? Now, unlike we've had the members mention and give the ordeal, it took other forms, because now it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. That is when, again, Bana came and we decided to file an application, habeas corpus application. Because now, because of the facts and everything that came out, we knew at least it is the government. And I'd like to thank also the members of the Secretariat, CEO. I don't know if Mariam is here. Mariam Takuba, Jirua, Robert. We also had, I think, Diana. It was a combined effort, because we had to file this application in the name of Uganda Society, as well as, Bana, which was filed that very evening. And in the morning, first thing in the morning, I again with Bana at the registry at Civil Division to have this matter allocated to a judge. And the registrar didn't, frustrate us. I know we've had challenges with the judiciary where they are failing to fix matters. You go there and they're fixing habeas corpus for 2 weeks ahead. But I think I saw this kind of swiftness where the registrar immediately allocated and even asked us, which judge would you prefer? I have so and so at the station. And we believe this is how justice should be dispensed. This is what should be done. We shouldn't be looked at as enemies, because at the end of the day, the judiciary and the bench, that's the bench and the bar, we are the same. Today it's members of the bar, tomorrow it could be members of the bench. But again, even for members of the public, it is their duty to uphold these very basic principles. So when he allocated a judge, we again went and spoke to the judge and said, hey, listen, this is very important. This man was, he disappeared on Friday last week. And today is, it's Tuesday. We don't know where he is. We've not heard from him. He has not been able to access his doctors. He has some medication he's supposed to take. And, we are stuck. We've reported everywhere. We have police reference. So this judge accepted to give us the following day at 2 p.m. And I mentioned the same thing. I said, listen, whereas it's important that we have this matter, what we are more interested in is making sure that the person is safe and there's someone who is accountable, someone to take responsibility. So the matter was fixed for Wednesday at 2 p.m. So we did serve the Attorney General, we did, circulate. And I can assure you that very evening, so when we started receiving phone calls of, for us getting to know that the man is alive and is somewhere. And by 7 a.m. in the morning, I was receiving a phone call that now he's being taken to court, another court, being produced in Iganga. I actually remember, like he said, I had to run to Iganga and agree with a colleague to hold 40 here, that is Jude Biamukama, where, of course, our application now had been overtaken by events. It had to be withdrawn. But why am I saying this? If you look at the steps we went through to reach that point of, having due process, because the first thing they should have done was, if you're suspected of having committed an offense, let us follow due process. Let us respect procedures. Why do you have to use these measures of have someone abducted, taken into an ungazetted, place of detention, and then when there's pressure, that's when you produce them in court? Because what was wrong with him being produced in court? He's charged, he's taken to, a government prison where he was. Now, this is a cry that so many people are going through. It is a crisis, I must say. And unfortunately, we are beginning to normalize it, like I've said. What we're saying as Uganda society is, we do not just stop at condemning. We want to call to action the responsible people. We have institutions, we have individuals. We cannot witness the rule of law being disrespected and going down like this at the hands of people who are in charge, who have this responsibility, and they are seated in their offices. Why can't we have such people, why can't we have them prosecuted, the perpetrators of these wrongs? Because if you're denying as government that you're not behind this, then why don't you hold those people accountable? Why can't they be punished? Because we've heard once and again that they will deny, we don't know the people who are doing that. We are not responsible. But then who is in charge and who should take responsibility? Whose duty is it to protect the members of the public? Whose duty is it to protect us? Because if we are going to begin to looking out for ways and means of protecting ourselves, defending ourselves, then you know what it means. Because that means if I'm to defend myself, I don't care about the rights or the safety of my neighbor, another person. My concern will be myself and my family. Whether other people die, I don't care. And you can imagine where this will take us. So that is why as Ugandan society, we condemn this in the strongest terms possible. And we call upon the responsible individuals, government agencies. We called upon the Minister of Justice and Constitutional Affairs to come and take charge of that. Because, if you are talking about access to justice, rule of law, respect for human rights, there are institutions very clear who are mandated to do this. As Ugandan society, of course, we come out as a watchdog, but you realize we also have a very big role to play, and I do call upon members wherever we are. Please be of value to these members of the society. Let them feel this is the time for us to be, relevant to the members of the community, not just our clients. It is not just our fight as members. It is everyone's fight. Because if we do not do what we're supposed to do now, then at the end of the day, we shall fall victims. And as you can see, it has started coming to us. So we better, fight before it actually gets to us, because when it gets to us, there will be no one to defend us. As you're very much aware that right now you cannot even rely on some of our own to protect us. NASA told you there were members, colleagues who are doing this, saying, we're at LDC with you. You've seen what some members of the bench, who are also lawyers, by the way, are doing. So the one thing I'll say is that as members of the Law Society, I can comfortably say that we're on our own. No one is there to help us. So we must fight for our own. We are alone, we're on our own in this. And we must find solutions to protect, our independence, our practice, and ourselves. Now, that being said, like I'd communicated earlier, the RNB Governing Council has, important communications to make. And I'll invite the treasurer who is here to join me here as I make this groundbreaking communications to the members of the bar. Now, I'd like to begin with our executive order, RNB number 4 of 2025, partly which has been circulated, but just to give you context. As you're aware, the Radical New Bar is running on, 4 major pillars. We have demilitarization, democratization, decolonization, and digitalization. Now, if you've been following the work we've been doing, everything has been, has that background, and it falls in either of those 4 major principles. And like the president has always explained before and at the beginning, there are reasons as to why we have these, principles of decolonization, democratization, demilitarization, digital transformation. When you listen to the discussion we've been having here, most of it speaks to decolonization. NASA told you about the archaic law he was charged under, which we feel shouldn't be on our law books. That clearly falls under decolonization. We are talking about demilitarization. What do we have? Military state agencies getting involved in civilian work, the work that is supposed to be done by police. What do we have? The military. But now, the importance of this is now to push forward our digital transformation agenda, which is a very important aspect of the Radical New Bar, falls within the vision, RNB Vision 2060. What do we want to be in 2060? Like we've already said, we will not be here. We may not be here at that time. But what are we setting? What foundation are we setting for the next generation, considering where the world is headed right now? And allow me take you through our executive order number for RNB number 4 2025, which is disrupting the 8th annual conference by delivering the inaugural Radical New Bar Digital Transformation Festival. It's the first of its kind. And that is why we decided to, bring it out as an executive order, RNB number 4. You're aware we have number 1, number 2, and number 3. And the purpose of this is basically to establish a Radical New Bar Committee to disrupt the 8th annual conference by organizing and delivering a groundbreaking 2-day festival that will further the objectives of RNB Vision 2060 through digital transformation. It's not that we've not had annual conference, before. This is the 8th of its kind. But it's the first of this nature because we are changing. It's a disruption from the normal. If we keep doing things the normal way, the same way, we'll keep getting the same results. We hear you, the members. We hear the feedback. We do consultations. We consult the members. What are your thoughts about ALC? What would you like to see? But again, in trying to fit it in within this agenda, that is why we are calling it a disruption. That is why we're focusing on digital transformation. And under this, you're aware that, Uganda Law Society has a role and a mandate to promote justice, equity, and the rule of law in Uganda. And as the Radical New Bar Vision 2060, we have irreversibly and unapologetically set the ULS on that transgenerational mission aimed at revolutionizing the legal profession through the 4 pillars I've mentioned of decolonization, democratization, demilitarization, and digital transformation. Now, a time has come for radical departure from the status quo, like I mentioned, we've had in the past annual conference organized. The format has had through our, inquiries and consultations has had its own criticism, where some members, especially the young lawyers, feel they've been left out. They feel it's been, it has excluded them in a way that their interests have not been served. That is why you notice in the past the attendance and participation of the young lawyers has really been so minimal. And we want to be an all-inclusive bar at whatever level and whatever we do. So we feel this time has come for a radical departure from the status quo, and we want to embrace a new era of digital transformation. Now, alongside that is to have inclusivity and dynamism in the legal profession and practice in Uganda. So to that end, as the Radical New Bar, we've hereby established a committee to be known as the inaugural Radical New Bar Digital Transformation Festival Committee. Here enough to refer to as the committee. And they've been given lots of responsibilities, which they have, I believe, accepted to take up and deliver for us this new, transformation agenda, to deliver what we expect to see. And this committee has several responsibilities, but majorly is to design and implement a comprehensive program and budget for the festival, focusing on digital transformation in the legal profession, because everything is going digital, to identify and showcase game-changing technologies that can enhance the practice of law in Uganda and beyond, to develop strategies for ULS members to leverage technology and improve their services, and fostering strategic partnership to drive digital transformation. Now, this will not only be over those 2 days. We believe with this festival we shall build a continuous, it's just the beginning of a continuous journey in our digital transformation agenda, which we believe the team selected here will deliver. And please, on that note, allow me, appreciate and thank the following members for accepting to take on this mantle. And these are the following members. One, Godwin Masiko Mwezi, who will be the chairperson. I'm not seeing him in the room, but we can clap for him. We do believe as the Radical New Bar, he will steer the committee to deliver the mandate that it has been tasked with. We have Hilda Kamgisha. We have Advocate Patson Arineitwe. Advocate Patrick Ruwama. Advocate Joel Wasoga. Advocate Hope Maureen Senoga. We have Advocate Patrick Mugarura. Advocate Gabriel Achaye. Advocate Nabale Shira Christine. We have Advocate Aziz Chitaka. Advocate Raymond Amumpeire. And Advocate Simon Tegeka. Now, to assist these members of the committee in execution of their mandate as the Radical New Bar, we felt it important to also provide technical advisors to the committee to assist in technical matters. And one, we have Mr. Egesa Ronald Leonard, Advocate Paul Muchibi, Advocate Chris Mogal, Mr. Emma Hawe, and Mr. Edwin Natumanya. Now, this executive order shall take effect immediately, and the members appointed on this committee, I believe, are setting the pace. With that, please allow me have the members of the committee who are in the room, if you could have them here, and we do launch the Tech Festival for our digital transformation agenda. So as you've noticed, we are set to go, and the date is 14th to 15th August 2025. That's the mandate this team has to deliver the state-of-the-art tech festival for, the radical agenda, digital transformation. So, who are the ladies? Who are the ladies? Thank you very much. Now, at this juncture, allow me welcome Advocate Joel Basoga, whom I've been informed is representing the chair and members of the committee to deliver an acceptance speech. Please, the floor is yours, Joel.
Thank you very much, the Honorable Vice President. My name is Joel Basoga. All protocol observed. The President, the Vice President, members of the Law Council, and all members of the Law Society. My role here is really very minimalistic. It's to deliver the acceptance speech for the inaugural chairperson. I personally am passionate about technology. I am a technology lawyer. I have studied technology law, and I have also gone ahead to practice it. And so it's a very distinguished honor to be appointed to serve on this committee, to lend my knowledge and expertise to the team. So thank you very much to the President and the Vice President for this unique opportunity to serve the society, which will have ripple effects on the country. I will now deliver the acceptance speech for the inaugural chairperson of the Nuba Digital Transformation Festival. In specific terms, acceptance speech. The Right Honorable Isaac Semakade, President of the Uganda Law Society, esteemed members of the Council, colleagues and friends, it is with deep humility and honor that I accept the role of chair for this inaugural Radical Nuba Digital Transformation Festival. I thank President Semakati and the Council for the Uganda Law Society for entrusting me with this responsibility and for their resolute vision in shaping this bold and necessary pivot in our profession. I also extend my sincere gratitude to the brilliant committee members and technical advisors appointed under Executive Order RNB number 4 of 2025. Your insight and commitment will be vital as we chart this path together. This moment and this movement belongs to all of us, As we launch this festival, we're not merely opening a series of sessions, we're launching a revolution. This is a moment of courage, creativity, and commitment. As the radical new bar has constantly reminded us, freedom is not a gift bestowed by others, it must be won by the exertions of those who demand it. We stand today to demand a new legal era, fearless, digital, and accessible to all. Our mission is clear: to ensure that the law serves not only the privileged few, but becomes a living, breathing tool of justice for every Ugandan. Central to this is the twin engine of digitization and digitalization, converting our systems and reimagining our services. The world is not waiting for us, and in the words of Nelson Mandela, it always seems impossible until it's done. Now is our time to do it. Digital transformation is not about gadgets, it's about justice. It's about empowering a young lawyer in Gulu with online research tools, enabling a widow in Mbale to access legal service via virtual clinic, and helping our courts move from paperwork to precision. It is about protecting client confidentiality with smart systems and using data to predict, prevent, and resolve disputes faster. At this festival, we will touch the future: AI-driven tools, virtual courtrooms, legal tech startups, and robust cybersecurity frameworks. We will speak not only to lawyers, but to coders, regulators, educators, and disruptors. We will build bridges between generations, disciplines, and regions, and we will make this transformation inclusive for all. As your chair, I pledge to lead with action. I envision a bar where, one, legal education embraces technology from the start. Rural clients can access justice as swiftly as those in cities. Data, not delays, drives how we work, and digital fluency becomes as critical as legal fluency. But above all, I envision a bar that dares to lead, a bar that understands that transformation is not a threat. It is our greatest opportunity. Let us embrace this festival with the boldness of those who came before us and the hope of those yet to come. In the spirit of the radical new bar, let this be remembered as the spark that lit the fire of a truly transformed profession. Let us move together as one bar, one vision, and one future. I accept this chairmanship with honor, purpose, and unwavering optimism. Let's get to work. Thank you. These are the words of Mr. Masiko Godwin Muhwezi, the inaugural chairperson. So I have delivered the remarks, and I must say I'm excited to participate in this. Thank you to the members of the council, the president, vice president. It is an esteemed honor and pleasure to be a part of this revolutionary festival. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Joel. Let's give him another hand clap. And let's also appreciate the chair in his absentia for accepting, because the task is not so simple, but to know that you have people who are willing to take on this and deliver as expected, we need to, give them another hand clap. All right, now, that was Executive Order RNB number 4 of 2025, which most people have been waiting for. And next, again, another important communication from the RNB executive. We have Executive Order RNB number 5 of 2025. And this is basically falling under, our still the 4 principles of decolonization, demilitarization, democratization. It covers all these major principles. And this is accelerating radical surgery of the Judicial Service Commission and the judiciary, and eradicating Chapter 8 repugnancy. As you're all aware, Chapter 8 of the Constitution creates the judiciary and is very clear on the mandate, what they should do, how the work should be done. And if all of you remember last year, under RNB number 12, 2024, the Radical New Bar moved to pushing for this. We stood for the principles of independence of the legal profession and independence of the judiciary. And this was, based on the background that the Uganda judiciary and Judicial Service Commission generally was and is grappling with what we might call a crisis. Sometimes we need to accept these realities. And this crisis is characterized by systematic inefficiencies, which we've seen in the delivery of justice. Lack of transparency. We've had people cry of corruption, incompetence, and there's no accountability at all, as well as undue political interference, which has affected and undermined the rule of law, access to justice, and slowly we are losing public trust in the judiciary. And the Judicial Service Commission as well, which is tasked with overseeing the functioning of the judiciary, has also failed to effectively regulate and oversee the judiciary, which has again put more pressure and led to, has worsened the situation where now we have a culture of mediocrity, impunity, incompetence. And again, this has worsened the situation, the crisis we've mentioned, necessitating immediate reforms. Now, based on that background, as the Radical New Bar, we've come up with Executive Order RNB number 5 of 2025 to address this problem, because we all know the important role of the judiciary. All of us will at some point run to court. Yesterday, I was watching, some Judge Musisa stepped out, and some commentary on TV, and they were discussing the court ruling, and in the recent concluded decision, I think Elias Narukora and Farida, and someone made a statement that you say at the end of the day, even when you come and you say you do not believe in the system, you do not trust the judicial system, you're still going to run to court. What do you expect from there? You're saying you're not satisfied with this decision, but you're going to court. Now that shows you the importance of the judiciary in as far as resolution of disputes is concerned, and most importantly, its major role in access to justice and promotion of the rule of law in the country. If we do not step up, if we do not come up, and we, find solutions together, we fight for reforms, and everything stays the way it is, we are degenerating into a deeper crisis, which might be very hard for us to come back from. And as the Radical New Bar, we believe we don't just speak, we take action, and the actions we take are based on, consultations, research, and expert guidance. So please allow me, I'll let the treasurer who is here with me read the executive order, the RNB number 5, and then I'll proceed from there. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'll go straight to reading the executive order, RNB number 5 of 2025, sorry. Accelerating radical surgery, the radical of the Judicial Service Commission and the judiciary, and eradicating Chapter 8, repugnancy. This is the preamble. Whereas the Ugandan judiciary and the Judicial Service Commission are grappling with a profound crisis characterized by systematic inefficiencies, lack of transparency and accountability, and undue political influence, which has severely undermined the rule of law, access to justice, and public trust. And whereas the Judicial Service Commission's failure to effectively regulate and oversee the judiciary has perpetuated a culture of impunity, mediocrity, incompetency, and further exacerbating the crisis and necessitating the urgent reform. And whereas the Uganda Law Society mandated to safeguard the rule of law, promote access to justice, and promote the integrity of the legal profession, is compelled to intervene and provide leadership in reforming the judiciary and the Judicial Service Commission, both established under Chapter 8 of the 1995 Constitution of the Republic of Uganda as amended. And whereas the Radical Nuba RNB Governing Council of ULS issued Executive Order RNB number 2 of 2024 on the 29th day of October 2024, announcing radical surgery of the Judicial Service Commission and the judiciary, and committing to halt repugnant laws, regulations, policies, and practices affecting these institutions. Whereas despite efforts to implement Executive Order RNB number 2 of 2024, including recalling unelected ULS representatives, launching democratic elections for ULS nominees to the Judicial Service Commission, capacity building initiatives, stakeholder engagements, and advocacy for policy reforms, the justice delivery crisis persists. And whereas Legal Aid Project of Uganda Law Society, intended to complement these efforts, is chronically overloaded, underfunded, and understaffed, further exacerbating the crisis and necessitating a specialized committee to address these challenges. Whereas the Judiciary Affairs Committee is essential to assist the ULS in fulfilling its RNB Vision 2060 obligations regarding the Judicial Service Commission and judiciary by providing strategic direction and oversight for radical surgery and reforms. Therefore, the RNB Governing Council of the Uganda Law Society, by virtue of Section 10 and 11 of the Uganda Law Society Act, Cap 305, hereby issues this executive order. The purpose of this executive order is to establish a radical new bar committee to implement Sections 3 and 4 of the Executive Order RNB number 2 of 2024, focusing on radical surgery of the judiciary and Judicial Service Commission, and halting unfair judicial recruitments, especially by establishing this committee. We hereby establish a committee to be known as the Judicial Affairs Committee, which shall be responsible for providing strategic direction and oversight in relation to Chapter 8 of the 1995 Constitution of the Republic of Uganda as amended. These are the responsibilities of the committee. 1, developing and implementing comprehensive reforms, strategies for the Judicial Service Commission and the judiciary, prioritizing merit-based appointments, transparency, accountability, equal opportunities, and good governance principles, strengthening the independence and the credibility of the judiciary and the Judicial Service Commission through targeted interventions and oversight. 3, promoting efficiency, effectiveness, and excellency in the judiciary and the Judicial Service Commission. 4, building and maintaining strategic partnerships with stakeholders to drive Uganda Law Society's transformation agenda and advance judicial reforms. Lastly, investigating and addressing allegations of corruption, nepotism, incompetence, non-performance, misbehavior, misconduct, maladministration, and repugnance within the judiciary and Judicial Service Commission, and therefore ensuring accountability and integrity. The following are the members of the committee, headed by Mr. Dennis Kusasira, who is the chairperson, Mr. Richard Omongole, Miss Robina Chomo Hingire, Mr. Andrew Mumpenje, and lastly, Mr. Enen Ambrose. So the tenure of the members of the committee shall be for a period of 5 years, renewable once, subject to satisfactory performance. Expectations. Expectations of the committee. Contribute, innovate ideas of expertise. Collaborate with stakeholders to drive meaningful change and transformation within the judiciary and the Judicial Service Commission. Respect confidentiality and disclose potential conflict of interest. Act with integrity in the best interest of Uganda Law Society and with charity. Implementation. This executive order shall take effect immediately, and all necessary actions shall be taken by the committee in consultation with the Uganda Law Society Secretariat to implement the provisions herein. The committee shall submit quarterly reports to the Uganda Law Society Council detailing progress, challenges, and recommendations for further actions. This executive order shall be published immediately on the Uganda Law Society website and shall be circulated via the official email of all Uganda Law Society members. In witness thereof, I have hereunto set my hand on this 29th day of May 2025 by our Vice President, Mr. Anthony Simwe of Uganda Law Society. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Treasurer. Now, most important, if you notice through our executive order number 2, we pushed for the democratization where we felt we lacked accountability on the part of the Judicial Service Commission. As you're aware, we have representatives to the Judicial Service Commission, and at the time, we lacked that kind of accountability from the representation we had. So we believed and hoped that if we had the members that have been representatives who have been voted into that office by the membership, we would have that accountability because they would know they have food to report to. But as you're aware, we are still being frustrated by, the powers that be from allowing us to conduct these elections. And if you've noticed, we are seeing a Judicial Service Commission which is not fully constituted, beginning to execute a mandate which we believe is another sign of either sidelining or disrespect for due process. Now, for this reason, we believe that this committee and the members we have can execute this mandate. We have a mandate under the ULS Act, and we do not have to wait to actually have people seated on that committee. We have our own committee now headed by none other than Dennis Kusasira, whom I believe all of you, every member has seen. He's been a candidate to the Judicial Service Commission with brilliant ideas based on research and based on reason, and he's given it a lot of time. But we believe we can still push for these reforms, even when we do not have people sitting there. Even at the moment or at that time when we have our representatives sitting on that Judicial Service Committee, we still need an accountability mechanism. We still need to have the voice of the members based on expert knowledge, so as to push for these reforms. And the main purpose is to improve on the quality of justice, to make sure we have a say. And please allow me to welcome Senior Counsel Dennis Kusasira. Senior Counsel Dennis Kusasira, for those of you who might not know him, but I believe everyone knows him. I do hand over this executive order RNB number 2025, and I'll give him an opportunity to speak to us as the first chairperson of this committee. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Vice President. I'm not yet senior counsel, but I'm a senior advocate, senior member of the bar, qualified to be appointed the Justice of the Supreme Court, so a senior advocate. I'm very happy again to be here. I think this is my second time to come to this series. The first time I came here, I talked about the state of the Judicial Service Commission. By then, I was still a candidate. And I warned that from what I see, it appears increasingly clear that Uganda Law Society will continue to be alienated, excluded from participating in making decisions concerning the judiciary by first what we saw in December, where the court issued an order to stop an election that was scheduled to take place to elect representatives of ULS. Come up with a new set of regulations that would help us deliver what the Ugandan people expressed they wanted in the Constitution Commission meetings that Dr. here was talking about. In January, without knowledge of Uganda Law Society, the Judicial Service Commission moved very fast. I want to find out whether our members that were representing us participated in that. And passed regulations called the Judicial Service Regulations 2025 that seek to completely obliterate, alienate, exclude the ULS from participating in appointing, promoting, transferring judicial officers of any kind. Those regulations are claimed to have been passed in January 2025. In fact, I subscribed to the Uganda Gazette. I saw them listed as regulations that have been passed. But every time I used to go to the outlets of UPPTC, these regulations were not there. And conveniently, they were released in April this year, when the time for challenging them by way of judicial review has passed. So I looked at them and I said, it does not make sense to continue campaigning to go and sit in the Judicial Service Commission without any impact. What do the regulations say? One critical one or two. Regulation 11 seeks to delegate the functions of the Judicial Service Commission, the constitutional core functions of the Judicial Service Commission, to a committee of five people who don't include the representatives of Uganda Law Society, who don't include the representatives of the public, the two non-lawyer members, and who don't include the representative of the Public Service Commission. So I looked at it, Regulation 11, and I said, if you are not going to participate in interviewing, in considering applications, in choosing people coming on the short list, and you are going to wait at the tail end to endorse a decision of 5 people, in fact not 5 because the committee is of 5 people, but with a quorum of 2. Imagine 5 people with a quorum of 2. I listened carefully to Dr. here when he was talking about the need to understand the spirit of the constitutional provisions that we read as lawyers. I want to challenge you, lawyers here and those online. How many of you have bothered to pick the Constitution Commission report of Justice Benjamin Odoki and read it cover to cover? Or if you have not read it cover to cover, at least have you read that report as far as relates to chapter 8 of the Constitution, so that you understand what was the purpose of what was the intention of the framers of the Constitution in establishing a Judicial Service Commission that is composite, multi-stakeholder, comprised of lawyers, a judge, lay people, a member of public service, the Attorney General as an ex-official. How many of you have gone there and seen the reason? And if you haven't gone there to see the reasons, you won't have a problem with those regulations, because you cannot understand what somebody is trying to do. The report is very, very, very clear. Sets out the role of each and every member of the commission. What is the role of the Attorney General? What is the role of the lawyers? What is the role of public service? What is the role of the judge who represents the judiciary? And once you get to know what the role of those people is, you will understand that it is impossible, it is impermissible, it is insidious for someone to think that you can delegate the functions of the Judicial Service Commission to a committee of 5 people with a quorum of 2. Who are on this committee? The chairperson of the commission, the vice chairperson of the commission, the Attorney General, the representative of the judiciary, and someone else who is not specified how they are going to be, chosen. Imagine these same 5 people are also commissioners, but they are in a committee. They are going to decide who should make it to the list of who should be a magistrate, who should be a registrar, who should be a judge, who should be a chief justice. 2 people want to give us a chief justice. 2 people want to give us the deputy chief justice. 2. 5 people endorse. Then they come to the gallery where we have been sent to endorse what they have earlier. Isn't it funny? How can you come up with such regulations? How? So, I said it was a blessing in disguise to publish them late because we look at another avenue. We have the Constitutional Court. And if we have the Constitutional Court, we are going to go for everything. We have found that, in fact, the Judicial Service Commission, which was given the mandate under Section 28 of the Act, has no power to make regulations that regulate the discharge of their function. So, they started this, and we are going to read and read and read and read and come up with a solution. Article 150, sub-article 5, clearly states, Parliament may make laws to regulate and facilitate the Judicial Service Commission and the President in the discharge of their functions under Chapter 8. The mandate to regulate the Judicial Service Commission was expressly given to Parliament through primary legislation. If you read the Act, there's nothing to guide the Judicial Service Commission how they conduct interviews, how they transfer judicial officers, how they apply the principle of meritocracy, how do they apply diversity, how do they promote inclusivity, how do they ensure that everybody has got an opportunity equally to access a judicial office. So the Judicial Service Commission went and made regulations to regulate themselves. The regulated is making regulations to regulate himself. Worse still, the regulations, Parliament did not even require them to lay the regulations before Parliament so that at least Parliament can know what have you done. How are you regulating yourself? So that act has serious problems. Section 21 only being one of them. Section 23, which bars a member that we have sent there to tell us what he has seen there, is also problematic. We have elected you. We have sent you to the Judicial Service Commission to represent us. We ask you, how come our members are not making on the list? And you say, I will be prosecuted if I tell you. What kind of representation is that? What kind of law is that? That law is inconsistent with Article 79(3) of the Constitution. It will be challenged. You have a provision like Section 13(7), which says the Judicial Service Commission can act even if there are vacancies, even if they don't have us. And that's why you see they are doing this, hiding behind that Section 13 to continue operating as if business as usual. So they have the guts, and I'm so surprised that the judiciary is the one stopping us. But the judiciary is going to find out that actually, when I was here the other time, I said judiciary should watch out because we are their defenders. The regulations that I'm talking about also set up a disciplinary committee of 3 people, of 5, with a quorum of 2. So you judge, magistrate, who is there issuing these orders against the ULS, just to know that 2 people can form a quorum, and by the way, the regulations say they can do it virtually on WhatsApp and make a decision against you. Okay? So, when we say radical surgery, are we wrong? First, of the Judicial Service Commission, radical surgery. Do we need a radical surgery? The Constitution was passed promulgated in 1995. We are talking 39 years. The Act itself, 39 years, Parliament has not made a law that efficiently regulates the Judicial Service Commission and even the President in the discharge of their functions under Chapter 8. And the one they made it 37 years ago. And we've been sleeping. We've been sleeping. Personally, I'm a commercial law practitioner, and many people are asking me, what are you looking for in these things? Doctor. Many people. But what are you looking for in these things? You've been doing your thriving legal practice, and now what are you looking for? Others go as far as saying, why are you looking for trouble? I said, how can you say you're looking for trouble? When you are fighting for your job to be, you want to do your job in an effective manner. And I remind people that personally I've been associated with the judicial, with the Uganda's judiciary since 1998. I'm talking over 35 years. And I saw senior lawyers like Godfrey Rule, Serunkuma, who were successful lawyers, coming to the Constitutional Court. Go and read all the decisions of Uganda Law Society, including the ones that were referred to by my Lord the Chief Justice in the Kabasiguruka case. These were argued by Godfrey Rule. Wasn't he running a successful legal practice firm? Did he die? He's still alive and breathing. No one arrested him. So please, please, those who are trying to discourage us, to try and make this job better for you, shut up. So, there are so many. I can go on and on with that act. Section 13(6). When there is a meeting to discipline or remove a judge, the Judicial Service Commission cannot take action except where the Attorney General is present. So if you want to remove a judge, the Attorney General gets out in the middle of the meeting, you must stop. If he doesn't come back, you go home. But what does the Constitution say? Article 147, I think 7. No, 147(2). In performance of its functions, that commission shall be independent and not subject to the direction of anybody, any person or authority. Not even the president can direct the Judicial Service Commission. How does Parliament make a law that gives the Attorney General blocking powers? And when we talk about Attorney General, people confuse and think we are talking about the person. I am talking about the institution of the Attorney General. I'm not talking about my good friend Keke. I'm talking about the institution of the Attorney General, whether it was in Nyombi or whatever. You can't remove it. What if the Attorney General was a party to a suit and the malpractice alleged involves the Attorney General? What happens? Have we sat down to think about this law? So thank you for making these regulations. They have made us think. They have made us think and discovered that actually you have no power to make the regulations. Number two, that your act has serious deficiencies that need to be radically, and I like President Semakade's definition of radical. Go to the root of the problem. And I will move on to the next, that independence of the judiciary starts with independence of the appointing body. The Supreme Court just confirmed recently in Kabaziguruka. The Judicial Service Commission, if it's not independent, you cannot get independent judges. So that's why we combine radical surgery of judiciary, Judicial Service Commission. Radical surgery has happened in many countries. Kenya, Ghana, many countries. It's not the first. So I think it's time for reforms. And it's not going to be by working hard and fast. It's going to be by really, really going through systematically and convince the powers that be, convince the court that you have a bad law. Your problem of backlog does not stem from lack of funding, as you claim. It stems from a bad law that does not give us make a sufficient and adequate provision for disciplining judges. Today, I sent someone from my office to go to the High Court for a mention of a case, and they told them the judge is sick. So she rang me and I said, you get a date. They said, after being sick, she's going on leave. After leave, there is court vacation. Imagine. Sorry, we all fall sick. But look. So, on that note, I want to accept the appointment by the President in this role, which I believe, if you support me, if you support my committee members, we will not let you down. We will do our job honorably with no fear, but also very professionally. I believe that even the President is interested in a functioning judiciary. The other day I was listening to him saying that one of the reasons they will not allow the courts to try civilians, to try the UPDF soldiers contrary to the Supreme Court decision, is because n'emisango gy'embizzi gitulemye mu court. To translate, the courts have failed even to deal with thieves of pigs given for the parish model. So that was a vote of no confidence from the head of state. So you can't argue with us that we need the radical surgery of the judiciary. This week alone, I have seen clients being summoned to State House Land Division. In fact, I went there and I saw very many people, vulnerable people, poor people, lining up in that office hoping that there is a decision that can help them, when in fact there is none. I have seen letters from administrator, this RDC, settling disputes of estates, and in the process forcing beneficiaries to part of their land. Why? There's no confidence in the courts. And in 1995, when the Constitution was made, there was no confidence in the court. What was the reason given? There was no independent Judicial Service Commission. What was the solution? To have a multi-sectoral, multi-stakeholder, composite Judicial Service Commission, which must perform its functions when it is duly constituted. So whoever is relying on that section 13, you are just deceiving yourself. Go and read the decision of Sam Kutesa and others versus the Attorney General on what the Constitutional Court said about a constitutionally established body that is not fully constituted, whether it can actually perform its functions. And the ruling is very emphatic. It can't. Because it's a composite body, it can't. and therefore also it can't delegate its functions to a committee. So, President of Law Society, Vice President, Council members, esteemed colleagues, our guests, I stand before you today deeply humbled and honored by the trust you have placed in me and my committee members, and me as chairperson of the Judicial Affairs Committee, specifically to deal with Chapter 8 of the Constitution. I accept this responsibility with both gratitude and profound sense of duty, not just to our profession, but to the ideas of justice, fairness, and rule of law that binds us all. Let me begin by acknowledging the remarkable resilience and commitment of the Radical New Bar and the Law Society at large. In recent months, we have faced unprecedented challenges. Many of you will recall that in the late 2024, I was privileged to be nominated by you to represent the ULS on the Judicial Service Commission, a body by constitutional design that was meant to be the bulwark of judicial independence and integrity. I accepted that nomination with hope and with a shared belief that together we could help steer our judiciary towards greater merit, transparency, and justice for all. However, as events unfolded, it became painfully clear that the path ahead would not be straightforward. The sudden halting of our elections, followed by the promulgation of the insidious Judicial Service Commission regulations, dealt a blow not only to the Uganda Law Society, but to the very spirit of our Constitution. By centralizing the power of judicial appointments in the hands of a few and marginalizing the voices of the bar and other stakeholders, these regulations threaten to erode the foundation of judicial independence upon which our democracy rests. It is not a technicality. It is a matter of principle, a question of whether administration of justice in Uganda will remain a shared trust or become a preserve of a selected few. Article 146 of the Constitution is very clear. The Judicial Service Commission must reflect the diversity and the collective wisdom of our nation, including independent voices of Uganda Law Society. When that voice is silenced or sidelined, the legitimacy of our courts is imperiled and the rule of law itself is put at risk. In light of this development, I made a difficult decision to withdraw from the campaigns of the ULS seat on the JSC. As I said in my withdrawal statement, sometimes when the river is dammed, it's wiser to speak from the banks than to struggle against the current. I am convinced that our collective voice, articulated boldly, persistently, with integrity, can carry further and achieve more than a single seat at a compromised table. Today, I accept the mantle of chairperson of the vital committee. I am thrilled, not with despair, but with renewed hope. For me, it's a moment of diversity that for me, it's moment of adversity that our strength is revealed. The Judicial Affairs Committee has been entrusted with clear and urgent mandate to spearhead advocacy, oversight, engagement in pursuit of judiciary that is truly independent, transparent, and accountable to the people it serves. We will not stand by idly and watch as the pillars of justice are undermined. We will advocate for radical and meaningful reform, for merit-based and inclusive appointments, and for a judiciary that reflects the diversity and aspiration of Uganda as a nation. We will engage constructively with all stakeholders, but we will not shy away from taking principled stands or, where necessary, pursuing strategic litigation to defend the Constitution under Article 3. In fact, we will kick off our mandate with a constitutional petition before the Constitutional Court to challenge the impugned regulations and provisions of the Judicial Service Act that we think are inconsistent with the Constitution. This will be done very soon. We will serve as a channel for the concerns and grievances of our members and the public, because we realize one of the promoters of judicial misconduct is advocates fearing being victimized. We'll give you a channel where you can bring your complaints, and the ULS alone will be your complainant without disclosing your identity. We will work tirelessly to ensure that the bar's voice is not only heard but respected in all matters touching administration of justice. Through capacity building, education, and relentless advocacy, we will renew the faith of Ugandans in their courts and in the promise of equal justice under the law. To my fellow committee members, I only have one. Mr. Umongole told me he's traveled, and the rest have engagements. But I'm saying to my committee members, I pledge to work with you in a spirit of openness, courage, and solidarity. To the wider membership of the ULS, I say this: our cause is just, our resolve is strong, and our best days lie ahead. Let us stand together, undaunted, as guardians of justice and rule of law. Thank you for your trust, Mr. President, and your council. Let us move forward in hope and determination. Dennis Kusasira, the inaugural chairman of the Judicial Affairs Committee. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Just a round of applause for the teams. We can't add anything useful to what has just been shared. We thank you so much for the two committees that have been inaugurated. We thank the Vice President and the Honorable Treasurer for taking on the task of passing it over. We thank you so much. We want to thank the members as well, those present, Secretariat, those online, and the honorable distinguished guests that we have before us. Thank you so much once again for giving us this time. We are coming to a close of this function and would like to very fast reintroduce the Vice President to give a vote of thanks and find a way to close this session. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Robert. I must say, wow, what a day. And please, let's give Senior Advocate Dennis Kusasa another hand clap. Now, on behalf of the President, Governing Council, the Radical New Bar, members of the Secretariat who are here, allow me to extend my sincere gratitude and thanks to our speakers today. And again, in a more special way, to thank our members of the various committees from Executive Order Rnb number 4 and number 5 for accepting our appointment and for allowing to take on this mantle. If you've heard the members speak, you realize none of them is an easy task. It requires commitment, it requires sacrifice. It's, a self-driven mandate where we have members who are passionate, like you hear Dennis speak. He's passionate about the issue we are discussing. And we believe, like Abed said earlier in his speech, that we should not only stop at condemning and speaking, but taking action. So you can be sure that the Radical New Bar will take action. And this is how we take action, through our members who have resolve, who have the energy, who have the zeal to make things move. And we do trust and believe that they will deliver as expected, or even beyond. That is how we perform and we call upon other members of the bar. Let us not leave this for a few people who have come out. Let us come out and support. Let us come and give a hand to members who are fighting for these good causes. You've heard everyone who has spoken offer to do something. I offer to do this. I offer to do this. Please, let's come and work together, because if we are to realize, proper respect for rule of law, access to justice in our country, that resonates with our vision 2060, then the time is now. And we must all add something. We must all contribute. Let us all be, let everyone contribute something to this move. So I thank you very much. It's been a long day. And for the people who have attended both online and who are here physically, thank you very much for being with us. And we do not take this for granted. Please clap for yourselves. And from this side, I do wish you the best. And let's keep moving. We've started on our festival, the digital transformation. It's just the beginning. Let's make it happen. Thank you very much, and a good day to all of you. Can I have the members here for the group photo? You wanted to say something? All right. Can I have